Bonjour, mes amis. How's it going out there? Thinker St. James here alongside my good friend Chase Parton. And tonight we are going to be reviewing the film KO starring Ciryl Gane. Came out in 2025 this year. French production from Netflix. Chase, how are you, brother?
Dude, I'm here. Listen, after a movie like this, I'm excited to talk about it. I tell you, it definitely wasn't the experience that The Cage was. So I'll start off by saying that. So I'm very grateful for that. But it was something new, and I'm real excited to talk about it.
Yeah, well, so I guess that's a good place to start. I'm glad you brought that up because, yes, this being a French production, like The Cage was, there will be times probably in some of these notes, I'm sure you will as well, where we're going to be comparing the two, but they're not by the same people. They're not the same type of production either. So it is important to note that these are two separate entities here, even if we do a couple of comparisons. If you end up going back onto the channel to watch some of the older reviews that we did of the Cage series, you'll get a better understanding of where those comparisons come from. But just keep in mind that these are two separate pieces of work and should be considered as separate pieces of work.
Yes, absolutely. The first one was a drama series centered around the career of an up-and-coming prospect in mixed martial arts. This movie is an action flick, more of the John Wick style. Very entertaining. I will actually say that this was a pretty good watch. If I didn't purposely stop it just to kind of make sure I got my notes gathered and I wanted to, think about what I saw, I could have watched this in one sitting. It was that good of a movie. And it was Ciryl Gane's second outing as a what you would call it, an actor. He was just out there acting his ass off. So that was
what was
cool
his?
to see him.
I mean, the first one you're counting The Cage as that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
I mean, he was definitely acting in that one. He just wasn't the
Sure.
main character. So
Yeah,
this
playing
is
himself, but
yeah, true.
absolutely.
I guess you're right.
First like character based, I guess,
Yes.
thing that he's done. But no. So I did want to also note, aside from the things that you said, all very true. This is a very watchable, serviceable action film, I would say. But also to all of our French viewers out there, I think that we should be getting a little bit of credit here for being the guys who are going across the ocean to check out all of the MMA related content coming out of France, and shout out to France for being a country that is putting MMA on this level of a platform, because we're seeing more and more now mixed martial arts being utilized in film, MMA stars starring in films, and the sport getting a little bit of a platform. But for a long time, especially in the earlier days of the sport, it was rare that you would see it represented in this large of a platform. So, I appreciate that France is putting these things out. Granted, we didn't necessarily like every single thing that we saw in The Cage, but the fact that it's being represented at all, I do appreciate that. And hopefully France appreciates us for being the ones to do these reviews. So shout out to France.
Yeah, no, this movie, I would actually put on record right now saying they made a decent effort to make this a cinematic experience. There was a lot of shots that you could tell they were putting the icing on the cake. Like, that the director was like, that's it right there, hold it. Like they were doing really good on this. And I thought the performances from the actors, obviously Ciryl Gane, that they were decent enough that it didn't just throw it all off. Like, you could tell that they wanted Ciryl Gane to be their guy, and Ciryl Gane really bought into the character, and that was really cool from this experience.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely about the shots and everything too. There were definitely a number. We'll get into the notes here, going point by point a little bit. But like, there were a number of times where I noticed, I was like, that's a really nicely laid out composition there. I thought some of the production design was really nice. Like, as far as the look of the movie, like the lighting and certain elements, I thought was really cool too. Like, there were a number of commendable choices made in this production, and it kind of set it a little bit apart from The Cage. But again, we don't need to always go back and forth comparing the two. But this, having just watched The Cage, going from that to this, you can definitely see that this they're very much they have similar elements to it, but the heart is a little different, I would say, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I would also note the last thing that I want to know before actually getting into it is that the tropes in this movie, some are obviously going to be seen throughout of all media, but like the things that happen in this, the pacing especially, it kind of doesn't feel like movies that you would be accustomed to if you're like me who just watches American films all the time. Like there was a lot of moments in this where like I'm expecting a payout in a moment, but they just kind of divert it, but it's not in like a subverting my expectations way. It's like that's the norm for them. Like that's just what they would. That's normally what happens over there. You know.
Yeah, you had mentioned that before we started, and I'm interested to see what those points are for you, because there were like, I thought that the story was pretty like decently laid out, and fairly linear, and like we'll get into the twists and turns,
This
quote
was a
unquote, but
weird
like
story. This
they're,
was a
they're
good one.
yeah, it was definitely straightforward enough though, and that's why I say it was serviceable film for sure. Like,
I think that's what's funny about it too, is like when you actually when we talk about this story, you're gonna be like, what are we talking about? Like especially at the beginning of how it's set up, but they kind of just breeze through it, and it's just like,
right.
well, this is happening. Like, no, this is the story. I mean, there's
Yeah,
no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Surreal Guns into it, you know?
it rolls you right in for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's get into it in a
Yes.
second. And I mean, we didn't say this for the cage, but we definitely should say it here if the length of the video doesn't give it away. But we're going to be giving full spoilers throughout all of this. So if you are planning on watching this film and want to come back thereafter once you've seen it, then this is your spoiler warning right here and now. But going forward, this is a complete spoiler for everything related to KO. So
Yeah, and absolutely, everybody who's here, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you're there right now, Saratobi. I see you, and make sure you continue to keep up. So now we're gonna get into it. Make sure you
right
guys all
on.
do that.
Appreciate all of you, indeed. All right, well, let's start this thing off. The only no, starting going into the watching of this, I wanted to write down just what I knew about this production, and the only thing that I had for that was KO is a French film released by Netflix in 2025. It stars Ciryl Gane, and that's all that I knew.
That was, I'm glad that though you took those notes beforehand, because that's exactly what I was going to say before your notes. My side of the story is, yes, the real Gun's in it. He knows mixed martial arts. The directors, I don't know who they are. How does Netflix know who they are? But they gave him a movie to make in France with Ciryl Gane as an action star. They kind of wanted a little Indiana Jones, a little John Wick. You know, Indiana Jones outfit wise, John Wick in the appearance wise.
True.
So,
Yeah. I'm with you there. Yeah, I did after the fact, did a little bit of research on the cast and crew and the writers and directors and stuff. All French filmmakers that pretty much, as far as what I have seen, have just done work in France. So this is a true, real deal French production through and through. This isn't one of those deals where it was like French money with an American director and an Italian writer, kind of a hodgepodge. This is down the line French, all everything.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a spoiler yet, but I would like to say Ciryl Gane is a very good action star. I mean, he's almost on the level of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or Arnold Schwartz, like whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I guess the character in this film like lends itself to being a little more of the brooding type. So it's like I feel like he didn't really have to necessarily, it wasn't Shakespeare here, as the kind of thing, but for that framework, it's like, yeah, he did a fine job with this material.
Did way better than our boy Taylor in the cage. Let me first say that he actually knew how to do different expressions.
True.
Yes, the Ciryl Gane's character was not the most like extensive, but he did there was funny moments in it. Like he actually was playing a character, and he knows how to steal the camera shot. I don't know. There's something about him that when he smiles and he's got that goofy look on his face, like, dude, he's just got it. I don't know.
Yeah, he does. He's got a slightly infectious smile, I would say, which it does come from the goofiness, because it's like he is a massively lumbering figure in this thing. And also, I thought it was great that the co-star, the female lead of this film, is so tiny.
Yes.
So it's like the contrast between the two of them. And shout out to the co-star, actually, the female lead, because she plays a good tough girl character, with a little bit of a short woman syndrome, I guess, to an extent in
She'll
this.
take no shit.
Exactly. She's a cop. She's tough. She's
She's
gritty and
crazy.
grizzled.
She's
Yeah,
fucking crazy.
she's crazy. Everyone's in the movie saying how crazy she is. She's a loose cannon. She's
Yeah.
one of those types. We get the classic badge and gun scene in this film too, which is great. But yeah. So I thought that they played well off of each other. In fact, I mean, really, like as far as the acting went, I think that the same note applies to most of these characters. It's like they weren't like they were fairly in their own boxes. Like we'll talk about the villain and coming up here or whatever, like the main villain guy, he didn't really have a crazy amount of range, but within the boxes that they're filling, I thought that they did a pretty good job. The kid I thought was decent too. Like usually with kids of that age, because this kid I think was maybe like 14
he was supposed to be like a young high schooler for sure, but he had to have been at least 20. He just looks
yeah,
young.
you thought he was one of those types. It could have been. Either way, I mean, as a younger person, it can still go either way with that age range. But the younger people in the film I thought were fine too. It really was just decent down the line. Like there was nothing again, we were talking about the cage. Like there are specific things in the cage that like stuck out like sore thumbs to you. In this, there really was not that much where I was like, that's goofball. That's goof. There's a couple I'll get to, but like there, it's like overall, this was just a fine viewing experience that allowed you to immerse yourself in the story.
No, 100%. Just like any other movie, though, there are some flaws, and we'll get into it.
Sure.
Some things that I want to talk about specifically later, but we'll finally get into this review.
I know we've been leading it for a very long time. Let's do it. All right. So starting off this film, we fade up from black. We hear fight commentary starting, and boom, we're back in Arras fight promotion out there in France. Shout out to Arras for being the premier French MMA organization and having this deep a tie-in with these productions as well. Like they are very much catering to these productions to the point where if you have a French MMA film that you want to make, Arras will work with you. And I think that that's really admirable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. What this movie started out like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with any game that had ever came out about UFC or about Fight Night, but the story to the career always starts with you in the third round after you've got your ass whooped, and it's like, all right, you got to go win it, champ, finish him off, like that's literally how this fight started. It's in a void, there's no fans, it's just Ciryl in the cage with his opponent. And there was some decent, mixed martial arts showing, just like with the cage. There was some good in-cage things going on here. What I thought was funny is instantly we see Ciryl Gane shoot for a takedown. Yeah, okay, brother. But that's the first thing I wanted to know. Go ahead, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, I mean, so we're other thing important to note based on the cage is that Taylor Lopoulos was not on commentary this time, unfortunately. So that I didn't watch the dub of this one, so I don't know if if the sound alike would have been the same, perhaps. But based on what I was hearing, no Taylor Lopoulos, so slight ding there because that I appreciate the amount of work that Taylor Lopoulos puts in the commentary community. But that's aside. So we're in this fight, round 3. We're right in the middle of it. A few good strikes. Ciryl gets his back taken right into the rear naked choke.
Yes.
And I was like, Ciryl Gane getting choked out. History repeats itself. But choke was under the chin, but dude couldn't finish him. Must train with Mike Davis or that guy in the PFL you were talking about a whole bunch recently.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I broke this scene down just like I did in the cage with every little thing, So
right.
Ciryl shoots for the takedown, gets his back taken, and escapes the choke, gets up, body lock to and an elbow, flying knee to the ground and pound. So this is a whole sequence that happened really quick. Then there's a triangle choke. Ciryl slams the guy and knocks him unconscious.
Right.
Okay. So that's the end of it.
That was all a very quick sequence there too. Like what I had said is that they were speed running the moves list and that moment there. Cause like the MMA portion here, what we're talking about right now is this very beginning part. And then sadly, MMA doesn't really play. There's a couple of little instances where some fight related moves take place, but this is like the bulk of the MMA portion of the film, unfortunately, I would say.
They literally just did what Roadhouse did. Like, he just has the one part where it's like, oh, he's an ex-MMA fighter. Like, that's it. Like, that's all you're supposed to know.
Right.
He got kicked out of the sport, or he did something, now he's exiled, but he knows that he's a killer with his hands, you know? Like, that's all that you need to know about it. They ripped it from Roadhouse. Whether that's what they did or whether that's just like a common trope that they wanted to follow, like, I don't know. But that's basically all that happened. That was the only thing there. Ciryl slams him. I thought what was instantly funny is that he's laying there lifeless and no medical staff shows up for the first like 10 seconds. Like, that, you know, it zooms out and it's like, whoop, 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 and like nobody cares.
I said that the ref came running in from a mile away. Like, where the fuck was that guy at? You know, the ref was not even there. His family, the opponent's family, is crying bloody murder. This is a prime example of why you never bring the wife and kids to the fight.
Front row, you know, just like they might as well have been his cornermen. Like, they were so close to it. The security guard is like, nope, you're good. Just stay here, cry it out. You're fine. You know, and the dude is obviously dead as shit. Like, that's exactly the reality to the story. Is the medical staff did not get there quick enough. That's not part of the story, but that's all I'm telling you, is they didn't get there quick enough. My boy's laying there dead. Now they're doing CPR after he's been unconscious for a couple minutes now, and to no avail. So
right, yeah, I mean, so it's one of those deals where we'll often on watch-alongs, or you know, when you're watching fights out there, it's probably like, oh, that dude's dead, but this like, oh shit, that dude's really dead though. Like, it was that was he legitimately passes away. Ciryl Gane has now unintentionally committed involuntary manslaughter, essentially. But I mean, you know, within a fight promotion, that's going to be a point that's going to come back later, is that like this is all within the context of being a professional fighter. Right. So yeah, it's a very unfortunate and tragic thing, but Ciryl Gane, you know, is very shook off of what just happened as the EMTs enter the cage, and then we cut to the next scene here, which is at the mausoleum of the cemetery, where this dude has now been buried, his opponent, and Ciryl Gane is there kind of paying his respects. And that was actually one of the early off-rip shots that I wanted to mention. This was a very nice, like what it looked like. It was like almost on the corridor, and there were like two of them. So it's like you're almost in the middle of two kind of branching corridors.
Looked like a reflection, and Ciryl was on one side of it, and it just like never ended. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was just a very nice cinematic shot. I said that, you know, off rip, the cinematography is really nice here. And I mean, comparing it to the cage, I was like, this just kind of nicer than the cage. The in-cage footage as well that we just saw, we're just talking about, was stylized nicely with like the lighting and the way that the crowd was represented. Like I thought that the in-cage and this portion gave me a good hope for how the rest of the film was going to look, because it was already elevated a little bit past what we were comparing it to.
I think we are about to get into one of the moments where I'm going to credit the runtime being so short, because like you said, they kind of speed run through a lot of this beginning. And by the middle of the movie, like, you really do just kind of understand, like, oh, okay, well, he was a fighter, he killed somebody, and then what we're about to find out here soon. But like, and I think credit to moments like these, where it's like, the next shot. So Ciryl opens up at the tombstone. The family shows up. The son is obviously mad that he's there, gives him a good whop in the face and tells Ciryl to leave. Ciryl walks away. I mean, that's all you need to know, is the family's still upset about it. Ciryl feels bad, and you tell all of that without really saying too much. And then now that sets up the entirety of Ciryl's character, and then we get to jump into the next one, and we'll get into that.
Sure. Well, so this is one time, and this will come up again later, kind of referenced it just a minute ago, but this is one time where I did wonder why there was no attempt or conversation on Cyryl's part to say that, like, your dad knew the risks. Like, I mean, now granted, you don't want to, I know, not like that. You want to say it in a way.
Yeah, come on. Why didn't he do this? And I know, the worst way to say it ever.
But yeah, okay. Not like that, but that sentiment though. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, I mean, like, I understand that you're upset. Trust me, I don't feel good about this either. You know, speaking from his perspective, but like, the fight game, it's a terrible thing that happened, but like, hating me is not the right way to channel the anger. He talks a little later on about.
I actually think I actually think the resolution later is less realistic than this moment right here. I think this one right here, like, okay, he's a young teenager. Like, granted, like, what do you think? You think he's gonna go
Yeah.
up there and have a profound, "Hey, Ciryl Gane, why'd you kill my father?" You know?
No, I get that part of it. I would
I
somehow
mean,
from the filmmaking standpoint, there might have been a way to throw that point in somehow, some way, just to like have that so that it's not a lingering thing. Cause like that's the element of it where I'm like, it should have been acknowledged some way is I guess what I'm saying. Just because like it's a valid point, I would say, and like I think that people would think that, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it sucks that it happened, but it was within. It's not like Ciryl Gane went up to his dad and just shot him. You know what I'm saying? That so like some acknowledgement of the circumstances, I think, might have been good.
so if you're in France watching this, remember, if am I remembering correctly that you said that France was one of the last places to get mixed martial arts legalized?
Yeah, it was just legalized very recently.
So if you were watching this in France, and this is a show set in France about mixed martial arts, it's not common knowledge that they're like, oh yeah, they went in there knowing that they could die. Like just a few years ago,
But
they
the
were
kid would
no,
have.
no, but just a few years ago, they were like, this is why it's illegal, is because people could die. So like that's
Fair.
the context going for them. It's like, you killed my father, and we were the people that wanted this illegal. Like, we knew this sport could have been illegal, and we knew this could have happened. You
Okay.
don't know what the other side of that is, coming from the French community, who maybe is on the side of like, this is why we didn't want the sport legalized.
Well, and all of that's fine, and that's a fine explanation of it. All I'm saying is that some grain of this is like you reference how the runtime is pretty compact. They do a
Yeah.
pretty good job of streamlining everything. I think that just a brief snippet somewhere in the film to acknowledge this point would have been at least slightly helpful from the MMA perspective. But that's just maybe I'm nitpicking a little bit.
Yeah, I think that would have actually been a better point that he could have said to the girl later, and we'll talk
Or
about
like
this
yeah,
scene.
to the mother. That was yeah, right. Yeah,
No, well,
exactly.
not her, not her.
Or yeah, to any that
True,
this is my
true,
point.
true. You know,
This could have come
the
out somewhere.
16-year-old son. I mean, I would say maybe not necessarily jump to him and be like, hey, your father knew that he was going to die. It's not like that. Maybe
Right.
reiterate to the mother, like, you know that this was part of the game. And I think the way that they interact, I think that's also maybe something that she does know. It's just maybe she can't convey that to her son. You understand why later. She
True.
says why. So I think there's actually, in my opinion, I don't think there's that much shit to shit on in that regard, to be honest.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not even really something that like took
Yeah.
me out or anything. It's just something I thought of. But anyway,
And
all
I
right,
thought I cooked on that explanation about France, but either way, continue.
fair. Yeah, good job there, Chase.
Yes.
All right, so yeah, so son like you said, punches him. Gives him one across the cheek. I said Taylor wouldn't have had the stones to do that.
I
But,
know.
Ciryl doesn't know what to say, so he doesn't say anything, and he walks away. And we cut to the title card right after that. So that's your opening. Is all of what we just described goes right into the title card. And I actually thought the title card from this one was pretty nice.
It definitely was. And then this is where the movie starts. See, I guess France has a lot of issues with kidnappings and tortures, because this is a very prevalent thing that happens in this movie. We go over a lot of different torture scenes, so I don't know if you guys are not comfortable with that, but there are a few moments in here where people just get executed. So this is starting up with a scene where we hear gunshots. We start out with gunshots. I want you guys to keep that in mind. And then we have a man running in a factory. This is a big open factory. Man's running. He's all bloodied up. Guys are chasing him with machetes, and then multiple of them actually, and he's still outrunning them. There's 6 people chasing him with machetes. No, they're not shooting him, but they did have gunshots firing just a second ago, chasing him with machetes. The last guy that shows up doesn't have a mask, but he does have brass knuckles. That is key to know. His character is the brass knuckles guy, so just keep that in mind.
He's also
And-
the scar. He's got a scar on his face.
Yes,
I think I'm calling him Scarface in here.
Yeah, true. Okay, okay, Scarface, fair. I call him Brass Knuckle Guy, I think,
There
a
you
lot.
go.
But either way,
Same guy.
yes, he walks out, punches our guy that is outrunning everybody that doesn't have guns anymore. The guy's laying on the ground, and the evil villain walks out from behind him. And this is your big bad. This is actually Scar, not Scarface. This is Scar, the bad guy.
Right.
And he walks out, and then he kind of walks past our guy, and this is where we get our second cool shot of the show or the movie, where your point of view with the guy on the ground, and then he's watching the bad guy walk, and so like you're slowly watching him invert, and then he's looking behind, and then the guy tells the guys to go fucking stomp him to death, which was another key to note. They didn't cut him, they didn't shoot him, they didn't stab him, they decided to stomp him to death, presumably. We'll talk about it later. And that was, I think, yeah, that was it. Yeah, kicks him to death, and that's how that one ends. It was a weird introduction after that point, I would say. But
yeah, I mean, so that's it was a lot going on there in a quick amount of time. You know, a lot of things cutting around. But yeah, the dude's running through the warehouse. Guy pulls up on him shirtless. Like you were saying, there's most of these guys masked up, shirtless dude. I said this looks like the cast of Watch Dogs 2. I don't know if you know the video game, but like it's like these all, you know, the masks definitely reminded me of it. Like mask guy, a whole bunch of mask guys going on over here. I said, the irony of the irony to run from all the masked guys only to get decked by the one unmasked dude, and that was of course the brass knuckles guy. But yeah, he's got the cool scar, and then the big bad, the main villain guy. I said that this dude looks like the down the line middle between Yoel Romero and Drake. Like if you mesh the two of those together, that is exactly what this guy looks like. So I've been calling him Drake Romero, but I don't know, you know. But anyway, I also like that the point of view shot that I had that in the notes as well. Like that was definitely cool. That, like you said, one of the first of showing some artistic direction from the cinematography. So yeah, that was really cool. And this is just like an introduction to the gangster element. So we're definitely thrust right into the gangland element of this movie now.
I actually want to make two notes, and because, you know, we're talking about the artistic choices that they do make, and you don't necessarily think when you hear action movie, you're not like, oh, that's going to be the most, like, the director is really on his shit when it came to that movie. But in reality, when it comes to a movie like this, and they take very precise care of like how the action scenes are taken and a lot of other scenes, that it is very meticulous feeling, that they know that there's so much going on and they have to be in the right place at the right time. And shots like this just show you that they have a lot of passion for what they're doing in this. Like, they really wanted you to have an experience, that it wasn't just like, okay, you watch the bad guy walk away. It's like, no, we'll just turn the camera upside down because we're just do 360s on them. You know, we're just chilling out. And I really appreciate that one from this aspect. But also to note, the guy with the brass knuckle guy, he is able to do more things with the brass knuckles than people in this movie are with swords, knives, guns, vehicles. And I think that is just key to note right here. So later on, we'll bring that up.
Yeah, most definitely. I know exactly what you're talking about, and that is a good point to mention. But so as far as where we are right now, it goes to the next day, same warehouse, and the French police are there. 2 detectives roll up to 3 police officers who are just standing in this building. They basically said that the neighbors heard gunshots. These 2 cops asked, "Did you search the place?" And they were like, "No, we're waiting on y'all." And I was like, quality police work, French police. There you go. You're taking notes out of the American police's book.
Dude, that was absolutely hilarious. Yes, police said residents heard gunshots. Okay, so you show up again the day after. Like, gunshots, you show up daytime. It's like, well, fuck, they had guns. Like, what do you think we're going to do? We're going to go investigate later. And yes, so they show up and they're like, yes, you've searched. Nope, we just have not done anything. We're waiting for you. Ominous music as the lady, maybe it's not the lady cop, as one cop looks up. I feel like I have this in a note because it was a weird thing. She looks up at something.
Yeah, it's the lady cop. Yeah, because she's looking around, and then she's like, she looks down real quick.
No,
like,
dude, dude, no.
Oh, by the way, I'm standing in an inch-deep pool of blood.
Dude, okay, so yes, you have that point. It is so funny. But before that, yeah, so she's walking around the factory. None of the cops are saying anything to each other. They're just walking around aimlessly. And then I said, not one clear, like there's never one of that. Nobody cleared a room. Nobody walked with each other's back. They didn't do backup. And then I said, she doesn't see the blood until she's fucking standing in it. And it's not like it's a drop of blood. And she like, ooh, what's on my shoe? No, it's literally a trail of blood that she would have seen for fucking miles away. So she is so stupid. Then so this is the dude. This movie is pretty funny when you talk about some of the stuff. But so then she draws her weapon finally after blood, draw a weapon. She calls backup. Actually, scratch that. She calls one person. She says, "Hey, William, get over here." Like, there's like, I don't know. This movie is pretty funny when it comes to some of the stuff the police do. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's pretty much that. I mean,
no wait. Sorry. Yes, she calls her friend, and then doesn't even wait. She just follows the trail. That's how that one ends right there. She just leaves. She calls for backup and just walks away. So that was great.
There you go. Yeah. So I mean, we end up in a close proximity area of the warehouse, and it's not one dead dude, it's 4 dead dudes, 4 naked dead dudes. So
executed.
This is, execution style, just lined up and taken out there. Lady detective, lady cop thinks that she knows who did it. Intimates that it's mob related, rival gang type of deal, but apparently that gang's leader has been out of the picture for a while. It's they were saying, oh, these guys they went underground, they don't know if they're even still operating, but she has a hunch that is what happened here, and it's pinning it on them.
No, she's chasing ghosts.
Right. Yeah.
The tan suit captain, he comes in and squats, right? That's his main thing that he does right he gets in there, he squats down next to the dead person, probably says, "Yep, they're dead," and then gets up and he's like, "You have no idea what you're talking about. You're an idiot. You suck at your job. You're chasing a fallacy, and you're arguing with your buddy right there. He's right. You go away. Come here. We're going to go talk a little bit." And then typical brushes it off as woman is hysterical, can't take you on a hunch, get proof, then I'll help you. And then what's really funny is her guy cop friend walks by and he goes, "Time to go home. You want to get a beer?" Like,
like,
what are you talking
about? All right, we'll wrap it up. Yeah, no, I did like that though. I like that the superior is like, actually do some detective work and maybe I can help you with your crazy ass theory.
Yeah. I always love, it's like the captain forgets who they've hired. Like, have they not worked with them for the last 12 years? It's like, oh, not another hunch again. It's like, it's out of nowhere, the hunch. It's like, nah, you can't be just chasing these ghosts, these fairy tales that you keep making up. I know 12 years on the job, you've done a really good one, but as of now, no way can I believe you. I don't know who you think you are. You just got swapped over here, to be honest. We did a trade with the neighboring county, so not even really anybody.
Exactly. One other thing to note, though, too, is that the friend cop that you're talking about here, they have that brief chat for a second, and lady cop is the godmother of his children. So obviously they're close.
Yeah, that is key to note. I actually forgot that by the time of the end of the movie comes around, but that is a small detail. So yeah, they have a little funny banter. He's like, "Let's get a drink first." Funny banter that I didn't care about, and then she gets a call,
right? And
they're like, "Help! Come home now, or come alone now. I need to meet you." Blah 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 blah. Then the scene ends. I still think that part about getting the drink was just really. There's points in this movie that the comedy is maybe like, there's a lot of tones in movies and shows that you just got to pick up on, and I think maybe they're not getting the tone right with a lot of these jokes, because there's funny things in this show. Like, that was a funny one.
Yeah, the way that it was presented was more like, now the rest of the crime scene people are going to come in, so it's like, man, we've seen a lot, we should probably unwind a little bit kind of thing. But yeah, it like the way that it kind of like in the sequence, like looking at it like that, I could see it being pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're right. She gets that phone call. She's like, "Is there a problem?" Yes, there's certainly a problem. The way that the caller was sounding. So we find out that the person on the phone is the kid Leo, who is the son of the guy that Ciryl Gane killed in the fight. Apparently, he was at the warehouse and saw these murders. She goes up to meet this kid in a different location and finds that information out before other cops end up rolling up, and she says, the lady cop who's talking to this Leo kid says, "Those guys aren't with me," but this freaks him out, so he ends up bolting, and we get a little bit of a chase sequence based on her running after him.
We get a chase sequence. I said he runs, she chases, and then this is very key to note, because like I said, the norms are a little different. They're in a parking garage. He runs up. In your mind, you're like, what is he doing? Where the fuck is he gonna go? That's a roof, But apparently He just goes right to the top where there's just a little ramp that just drives all the way down the thing. So that was
And
funny.
a motorcycle. You want to talk about differences in culture? We've now seen this in The Cage and in this show or movie as well. Everyone in France drives motorbikes. This is just I said somewhere in these notes going forward, I'm like, does anyone have a car in this country besides Boss?
Yeah, no, Boss. Yeah, Boss has got a real nice fucking Lexus, and everybody
He's the
else
only one who can afford it.
Got the fucking moped that they got their two buddies on the back of. Like, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very funny. So this scene ends with him getting on the motorcycle of we find out later it's his girlfriend, I believe, and it's not really relevant, but that's who picks him up and drives him away.
Yeah, he had a getaway bike ready to go. I guess he was anticipating having to run, so he hops on and they scoot.
Leo, for the time being, he's just an innocent kid. Like, there's not really too much to the character other than like he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say he's like the smartest character in the show, like, but he did have a getaway there, so I guess there's a point for him. So I'll give him that. Later we'll talk about some stupid moves he makes, but
of course, yeah. We don't have too much information about him just yet, aside from him having a connection to the lady cop and what we just described. So
yeah. So that scene ends, and then we get flashbacks to Ciryl Gane killing the guy in the cage. He's, you know, having one of those nightmare scenes where he wakes up and then he has a beard, you know, and it's 3 months later or whatever it is, you know. I love those ones because it's always funny to note that having the beard is like, yeah, time's passed. Time's passed.
Yeah, and I said that, yeah, it's cutting back to those visions of the in-ring murder. Ciryl wakes up with a beard in a cabin like Yuri. You know?
Okay. So listen, that is perfect segue. So the next note was Ciryl wakes up with a beard, yes. And then I said, he lives like Yuri. And then I said, I just now thought about how this movie's character will and probably be just like Yuri. As when it comes to stoicism, like that's what they want a fighter to be like, is like the dude who doesn't talk, but he's gonna handle business and he does his fucking chakras and, you know, shit like that. So I really am glad that you noticed that as well. So he goes outside, enjoys the fresh air. You know, he lives on a beach.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not actually a cabin in the woods.
Yes.
It's a beachside shanty house, basically.
What it actually looks. I mean, listen, I would have liked to live there. I mean, right on the beach would have been nice. But yeah. So and then. The subtitle has takes long steady breath. I loved that one. Loved that one.
Well, I mean, you say that the house is nice. I mean, the house is okay, but I didn't think that they were particularly making the French beach look all that appealing. Like, it was kind of didn't look like the greatest beach. But granted, I do live in a state with a lot of beaches, so I know the good and the bad of those.
So yes, and then this is where you get if you've ever seen Cinderella Man. There's a scene where he's down at the docks and he's looking for work, and they're like, you, and you. And he's like, yes. And he goes in and he gets to fucking do manual labor for 30 hours and gets a $200 check. That is what happens with Ciryl Gane here. He goes right over to, I forget what type of work it was. It was some salt mine.
I will tell you, yeah, exactly. Okay. I would say that Ciryl Gane was working in the sand mine with a legit pickaxe. And what I said to that is that, you know, a frowny face emoji forever in Francis Ngannou's shadow.
Oh my gosh, you know, I was sitting here thinking like, dude, that is some hard shit. And then so they skip to him at lunch and he's eating alone, and I thought this was actually going to be more of a like, at the time you don't know where the story's going, so when you're watching this, the only thing that I thought about is, if you've seen the Punisher TV show, the first episode of it, he's eating alone, and then you got the other guys who are in the construction crew throwing rocks and stuff at him, like, look at that fucking idiot over there, you know, shit like that. That's what this was giving me vibes of. Like, you know, he looks back and they're laughing at him, and then he's sitting there eating his lunch pail, you know, funny stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, they were not doing that, but I did. Yeah, you're exactly right, though. It was like, oh, he's eating alone while all the cool miners are hanging out having fun.
Exactly. Yes, that is exactly the vibes that you were getting. You know, getting talked about other guys, presumably, obviously. Oh, and then he gets paid and leaves, and he doesn't have any dirt or anything on him. He doesn't have a lick of sweat, doesn't have salt, he doesn't do anything, but then he gets on his motorcycle and rides off.
And that's what I said, exactly. Paid in cash, rides off on a motorcycle. No one has cars in France.
I don't know if I caught it because by the time I thought about it, I think I was well past the scenes where we got to see Ciryl on the motorcycle. Do we know if he actually rode it on the scenes, or was it him just riding in and then they would cut getting off with the helmet? You know,
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think that we ever saw any scenes with him without a helmet, as far as I
true.
can remember. But yeah, that might have been a stunt driver, but that would be something I'd have to do a
That's
little
a
extra
big ass
research on.
stunt driver. They had to find somebody crazy to do his stunts on the
True.
motorbike,
Yeah.
or
It
they
could
got
have
him a
been him.
mini mic.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. It might have been him though. I mean, you could have learned to ride a motorcycle for the role.
Well, at least, riding in, like a
Yeah,
further
yeah.
shot away, you can get anybody to do it. But anyway, so yes, he rides off on the motorcycle. He makes it home, and this is where we see Leo's mom. This is the family of the guy who Ciryl Gane had, presumably killed in the ring. Not presumably, actually killed in the ring. The wife is there. She's all distraught. And then she shows him a picture of Leo in trouble. How did I have that? She showed a picture of this. Oh, it was
It
the
was on the
news,
it was
maybe.
on the phone. It was an audio recording.
Oh, okay. Yes, you are right. Yes, yeah. She listened to the voicemail, and she actually, this was a great moment. She actually gives fault on herself. She says, "I was not there for him. I was the one who let him slip after his father died. I wasn't able to do anything, and he started selling drugs, and whatever the case may be." Then we hear the voicemail from Leo. His phone is off. She's talked to the police, and nothing has happened. It's been 5 days without contact, is what she says. And then she says, Ciryl Gane, I want you to go find him.
This is exactly what I was talking about earlier with the note of the whole him being a professional fighter thing. This would have been the perfect time. So yeah, just to catch up to where you're at here is that, yeah, so the mom, it's just the mom that comes to see him at the house. She's
Yes.
already there. I did like you talk about cultural differences a little earlier as well. Like she's on his doorstep, they're now inside, and she's just smoking inside of his house.
Oh, she
Okay,
don't give a fuck, does
yeah, I
she?
mean, it's just again France, I guess. But yeah, she's saying, "Oh, you're hard to find. You're living alone to punish yourself." I'm like, "Damn, bitch, you come all this way to talk shit." That's a little bit of a haterism, but all right, whatever. Then she admits that, as you said, she admits that she went off the rails. The son went to go live with his cousin. He started dealing drugs, and then that's when she shows the voicemail or whatever. I thought that was a nice character moment, because it's like you don't want to. Again, comparing to The Cage, like the mother from The Cage would have just been like, I don't fucking know, whatever, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. But like this is like a woman who actually like was doing a little bit of self-reflection. So I thought it actually humanized the character to the point where he might actually want to help her beyond just the connection that they have with the the unfortunate incident in The Cage. But this was the point there where she says she wants him to go find the son. And I was like, yes, she wants him to find the son because of what happened to the husband. But this happened in Eris, a reputable fight promotion where he knew the risks. Was dad not a pro fighter? He should have been like, I'll cover the costs of a private investigator, lady, but I was just doing my goddamn job. I'm not a fucking bounty hunter over here, but
Yeah.
now apparently I have to be.
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna soon find. So if anybody didn't know, we're gonna make a deeper rabbit hole when it comes to martial arts movies and TV shows. And I think what is gonna be key to note is that they believe that knowing mixed martial arts makes you a superhero. And we're gonna talk about that later on
Legit.
in this movie a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And I just want to let everybody know, like, everybody's human. You are not Jesus Christ because you know mixed martial arts, whether the film would like you to believe it. I know Happy Gilmore was good at golf, but guys, not everybody is that. And that is the same story here. You are not superhuman. And Ciryl Gane, he portrays a good one, but Jesus, we'll continue to get into this. So yes, so the mom says, I want you to find him. I have Hugo's address. Go intimidate him to tell you where Leo is. Go do that right now. And Ciryl's like, what are you and she's like, here's a bracelet, put it on. It'll
That's
give you
the cousin is right.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Hugo's the cousin. Sorry, yes,
Right.
and Hugo knows where Leo is, and she
Right.
goes, "You owe us this favor since you killed my husband, Leo's father." And then she gives him a bracelet, says, "Take this rosemary. It'll help you find Leo. It's for good luck." And I was like, okay, a little cliche, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Rosary. Rosemary is
Oh,
the
rosemary. What I did write rosemary. That's funny. What do you like?
But yeah, she gives him a rosary, and that's like the connection, visual connection. Now that from a filmmaking standpoint, now you have a nice little thing for the mother to be represented by this rosary here that he's going to be carrying.
And now that we introduce it, I will say it doesn't have a payoff. I mean, like, it does, but in the sense of what maybe they were wanting out of it, I guess. Like, it really doesn't matter at all. Like, I
Well,
know it's obviously a bracelet. What can it matter? It's not the key to anybody's fucking treasure or anything, but it's not necessarily like, oh, you got to remember she gave him the bracelet, like, so.
and that's going to be a note at the end of everything as well, is that there if I did have any like major criticisms of this film, it's that there weren't any like overly grand payoffs. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying that every film has to have that, but like you kind of got almost exactly what you were expecting out of this film, I would say, to an extent. Not in a bad way, because it definitely kept your interest in it, and it felt somewhat fulfilling, and it felt like a complete story, but it wasn't like anything overly profound after all of that. And I think things like that are part of why that is, where it's like, yeah, you have this element of it, it comes back a little bit later, so it's like it is utilized again. It's not like it's information that is completely unnecessary and superfluous to the film, but like at the same time, it doesn't have any kind of like greater significance.
Yeah, 100%. And then she ends the scene by saying, "I will pray for you." And which is basically saying, "I'm going to do nothing. You're going to do all the work, and I'll just have a good word for you when you get back." Like,
And she legit didn't do shit after that. She is gone for the whole rest of this shit until the very end. But yeah,
yeah,
she really did just say, "Here's your rosary, off you go."
yeah, no, and then so we get more of Ciryl Gane driving a motorcycle. I said driving motorcycle with the cool emoji because
Hell
that's
yeah,
all. That's all that it is right there. Ciryl
true.
Gane rides bike and parks. That's the next thing that happens. He does it cool, and then he's able to park the bike. So like there is the two things you need to do in a movie to be cool. You park the bike. You are solidified getting off it. So anyway, GPS leads him here. He's stirring commotion because everybody's like, "Who's that guy? Like, who the
Well,
fuck
because
is that?"
he rolls up to the into the hood, because that's the
Yeah,
thing. Cousins live in kind of hood up, representative of why Leo being with the cousin led him to this clandestine path in life. He's the area that they're in is not the best. So when he rolls up, everybody is eyeballing him because he's rolling up on a nice bike in the middle of like pretty hood up situation. It's like a couch on the like just chilling
yeah,
outside.
yeah. No, this is a great scene that's coming up here. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
so Ciryl Gane obviously pulls up like fucking Ghost Rider, right? He gets off the bike and he walks up to the people in the front of the building, and they're like, I forget who initiates it. Ciryl Gane probably just says, "Do you live here?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm Dylan B from building B." And he's like, "All right, Dylan B from building B. If anybody touches it when I come back, if it ain't there, I'm gonna fuck you up." And then he tosses him the helmet and walks away. It was really, really funny. Holy shit.
Yeah, well, so when he rolls up, you mentioned the Ghost Rider line, but yeah, one person on the couch says he looks like a mix between Ghost Rider and then they never finish the thought. So I was like, and what? We'll never
Yeah,
know. But but yeah, so Ciryl Gane does pull up, or he does that. He puts the Dylan, this rando, in charge of watching his bike. Like, bro, who the fuck are you? If someone fucks with the bike, like, I'm not doing shit. But I mean,
yeah.
now he did say that. It's like, it's like, yeah, dude, you're in charge of the bike now. So apparently this kid is in charge of the bike now.
No, it's just so funny the way that he says it. He's like, "All right, Dylan B from building B." And
Yeah,
it's
right.
just like so stupid, like Jesus Christ. So anyway, Ciryl Gane walks in, knocks on the door to see if anybody's there. Door opens. Just noticed that Ciryl Gane is wearing a satchel. This is where the Indiana Jones comes into play. He obviously has plenty of classified documents in there. Not once does he pull anything out of the satchel, but he does wear a satchel in this scene. It just completes the look with his, leather jacket and his jeans and his Timberland boots, by the way.
Hell yeah.
Very,
It's a good
very
look.
key to note. Yeah, very key to note that he is in the worst attire ever for anything that he does in this movie.
True.
So yes, stuff is thrown everywhere, and then Ciryl Gane gets a gun pointed to the back of his head. Go ahead.
Yeah, so right, he rolls up into the cousin's gross apartment. Lady cop intercepts with the gun to the head. She is a midget compared to this big man.
Why'd you have to say gross apartment? You had to throw that
Because
shade
well,
there.
but they specifically like show that it's like I was actually I didn't put it all or go too deep into it, but I was kind of comparing it a little bit to Taylor's gross apartment because it was they went out of the way to show that there was like shit everywhere. It's not, you know, it was like an extension of the hood element, I guess, but it was just like, yeah, it was certainly not nice inside. But yeah, I did think it was pretty funny that they showed the size difference between Lady Cop and Ciryl very quickly because she is so tiny compared to Ciryl. And I actually did look it up. The actress who portrays the character, she's 5'2" compared to Ciryl Gane, who is 6'5", I want to say, something like that. So yeah, it's you know, she's reaching up with this gun like way high to the back of this dude's head. Yeah, I appreciate that no one recognizes Ciryl as a fighter. Guess none of the people in this world follow the omnipresent French MMA social media scene that we saw in The Cage, because she does, you know, no one sees, like, no, he's not recognized as like a professional fighter, like from anybody just knowing that in like, that's what I mean with the early part of the film. Like, it does not come back. Like, it comes back in very, very small ways when he talks about it a little bit, but like, as far as him being a star, quote unquote, like, because we saw, again, I hate to keep bringing it back to the Cage, but we saw in The Cage the main character there being recognized far and wide for a viral video that you'd think only a select group of people would see, but like, it got such huge recognition. In this show, I think it's a little bit more true to life. He's a random, presumably mid-level MMA fighter. Not everybody's going to know that.
I think the girl cop, I think her dynamic, like the way that they wanted her character to be, it unfortunately clashes to what the norm of Ciryl Gane's character should be. Like, she's the one that blows up and takes everything out of proportion. We'll talk about that later. Like, that would be a key component to Ciryl Gane if he like didn't stop beating somebody up in the movie, and like she. So we'll get into it, but I think she takes that component away from Ciryl. So it's kind of like we're sharing a personality in that aspect here.
I think that's probably why they did it then, you know, is because if she's going to be like the hard-nosed cop that plays by her own rules, then it would be a little bit, it would clash, I think, too much if he was also had those same traits, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So Lady Cop's got the gun to the back of the head. Ciryl Gane instantly snitches. I don't even know what's happening. I'm here for Leo. Leo doesn't even know who and he's snitching quick as hell. Then she's like manhandling him. She like grabs him and throws him up against the wall. It's like, dude, like, she's like a little woman. Like, come on, Ciryl. She shows him, she's looking through photos. Ciryl asks, how do I know you're a cop? Because apparently in France, you don't wear a uniform as a cop. Like, you just wear whatever you want. These aren't detectives. It doesn't seem like everybody in this like station was just normal.
No, I think that she is a detective, though. I think that that's the deal, because the cops that were in the warehouse earlier were in uniform.
You might be right, but so she shows him the little badge on her hip, which is also, it's like the most unidentifying spot ever. It's like, you could have it on your vest, like, no.
Yeah, she was not wearing it outwardly. She had to like do the flip up thing.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then I don't remember if they say anything else after that, but then we go outside. Is there anything else you have?
No, just that they're in there. They get the picture of the girlfriend.
Yes.
And then we don't know that at the time. It's just a picture of a girl, but yeah, they take the picture and then they're back outside with the bike watcher dude who tells the cops every goddamn thing under the sun. This dude.
Yes. So Dylan B from Building B is telling the story about how Leo got beat up, because apparently it's just common knowledge now. He was just watching the whole thing. Yeah, dude, they were beating the fuck out of him. There was a lot of blood, bro. They went in the ambulance. Like, they took a trip down to the beach. I'm pretty sure he came back. Like, it was like a whole thing for Dylan, and shout out to him. He got picked up by the ambulance.
He was a good self-snitching citizen, I said. It's like, because like, you think that everybody needs to follow the hood code, but in reality, he kind of is just doing the right thing, even though he did not help at all.
Yeah, I know. And he's just sitting there, and then the cop walks away after she got her answers, and he's still holding Ciryl Gane's biker helmet at this point. So Ciryl grabs it, takes it from him, and winks at him like, good man. Like, that's a good guy. That's a good bike watcher right there.
There you go. Yeah. He was
So
his friends call him a colossal idiot because
yeah,
of that shit. I thought that was kind of funny. That was a
yes.
funny thing to say.
Yes, so Ciryl is following the lady cop, asking questions, asking if Leo was her informant, which I actually don't remember. Later on, we'll get into that, but I don't remember Ciryl Gane jumping to that conclusion right there. That's actually quite interesting that he was just like, "Is he he's in your informant, huh?" Like that was kind of
Yeah,
weird.
maybe a little bit of a leap, perhaps, but I guess that knowing that she's a cop and that she's looking for him, maybe. But yeah,
And so this is the next key point because you want to talk about all their motorcycles. She says this is police business. Then she gets in a shitty little bug of a car and drives off. And it's like the one car in the movie has to be, of course, like that fucking. I don't even know what those things are called, but they're horrible. And then
probably why I didn't pick up on it.
right, no, absolutely. And so the carpool, and then so that's the end of that scene. She drives off. Ciryl watches her, and then he starts making a call or some shit. I don't know. And then
Well, yeah, he kind of like looks past and like starts moving sort of quickly, so you presume that he's going to follow her.
yes, yes, as they do in these movies where they chase cars and they can follow them to wherever location that they go. But
Yeah.
anyway, so car pulls up to a factory that has shipping containers outside. At the time, I didn't know if this was the same factory as the one in the beginning. It seems like maybe it shouldn't be because the police would probably be there still investigating.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no, this is like their gangster squad hideout. I
yeah,
was calling it, and it's like it's like a complex of sea crates.
in the middle of the desert. Like there's nothing around it. There's no buildings. Like when you look at this place, it's like they really rented this place from Grand Theft Auto. Like there's just nothing around it in the desert. Like it's kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
could have been a set. You know what I mean? Like that would have made sense if that was
Yeah.
the case. Because yeah, it definitely was. There were no identifiable anything around it. Yeah, it was pretty barren intentionally, and it's like they find these like spots that are appropriate for these kinds of scenes, and that's why I mean it could have been a set. You know, that could have
Yeah.
been created for it. But
Yeah. And so they're making conversation. They haven't caught the kid yet. Get me the mercs is what the big boss says. Get me the mercs, get them all. And then he starts making a call. And then excuse me, and then we get to I have the note torturing first guy at the factory. So this must be a flashback that happened where they were going back to what he was doing to the
no. This is what they're in the sea crate with the guy who we
oh,
thought
okay.
had gotten stomped to death, but he
Yes.
actually did not get stomped to death in the warehouse. He's in the sea crate, and they're trying to torture information out of
And
him.
he hasn't spoken yet was the
Correct.
key. And yeah, so the boss
Classic.
comes in because yeah, I know, right? You know, you always got to stay silent until what happens next shit comes. So boss walks in because boss gets a word is what they say. He's bold because he doesn't want to speak, and then of course the big boss man shows him a video of his family getting tortured now. And you know, torturing in France just must be super common because there's everybody gets tortured in this. Like
But you keep saying that this is like a French thing, but this is just this kind of movie thing, though.
no, I mean you are well true. You know you are actually cooking. This is an action movie thing, but like I don't know, this is a little too much. Like when it's like torture the family and make them watch type of thing. It's like, you know, John Wick did the whole kill the dog, but like, yeah, I don't know. You're maybe right.
Yeah, well, it's because it's just they're establishing how
That they're bad guys.
yeah, like how over the top that these gangsters are, and one thing that definitely does do that, in my opinion, is the fact that everything that we're seeing from all of this is all over 30 kilos of weed and 10 kilos of coke. Now, you know, I'm not an expert on this subject by any means, but that does seem like a relatively small amount. I mean, like I did a slight little bit of research on this. I think that 10 kilos of coke would be, I think, like around like 60 grams, something like that. American. So, you know, and as far as weed goes, I mean, it's still illegal in France, probably, you know, a decent amount of money there. But if we're talking about maybe let's go pie in the sky and say this is $500,000 worth. Maybe that's a number that would be appropriate for family torture and all this kind of stuff. But it just seems like overkill for what you're getting out of it, at least at this stage of what we know.
Yes. So this guy's he's watching his family get tortured. Finally tells them the location because in classic fashion, you always get your family involved and then you spill the beans after it's too late for them to be saved. That's always the greatest thing to do when you're the guy who gets captured.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
this was a little like, of the things that you see in these kinds of movies. This was one of the hackier elements, I would say. I mean, this was very traditional down the line, what you would expect from a scene like this.
yes. So that scene, is there anything else you want to add there? Because we
No,
okay.
yeah, just no. I mean, they just yeah, talking about the family. No, there really isn't anything
Gets
else.
the location. I don't remember what location it was it for the drugs or was it for Leo? I don't remember what the
I think it was for the drugs.
okay, that would make more sense. Okay. So then we get to the hospital. The cop pulls up. Ciryl Gane is already there because like we said, he was presumably following her the last time we saw, but he magically got to the place that he didn't know where she was going for
Well,
he just
but
he
he did
checked
hear
all the
the
hospitals.
no, but the Dylan guy told him. He said it to, he was there for that conversation, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't think he said what hospital or whatever. I think he just said, yeah, he got taken by the paramedics
No,
over to
he
the
did. No,
hospital.
no, no. He definitely did because that
Okay.
was the whole thing. That was why the guys called him a moron. Was he told him the exact hospital, and the other guy was like, I don't think it was that one.
Okay,
Uh,
okay, okay. So
yeah.
Surreal is there waiting for her to go in. He says he's coming with her, but she's not going to get with it. Are you his father? Is what? Oh, yeah. Are you his father? Is what the lady cop asks as she looks at Surreal Gone and asks if the white child, look at
True.
me and ask if Surreal Gone's my father. I'll give you the answer. It's no.
Yeah.
Like so, this was very wild. You know, she knows who Leo is. Like, I mean, this is
Right.
somebody that she knows personally. It's not like I don't know. So maybe it was supposed to be. I'm watching the dubbed version in English, so maybe it was like a smart alecky thing. Like, what are you his father? Like, you're obviously not his father. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Well, and actually, one step just before that, before it gets to that point in the conversation, Cyril says, you know, like I'm trying to help here, whatever. I'm not doing anything illegal, and she's like, you can't help me. And when he said he's not doing anything illegal, I was like, technically, you're interfering with the police investigation right now, brother. But just putting that out there. But yeah. So then that gets into the, you know, who are you, his dad? He says it's complicated. She's like, keep your complications to yourself, which I thought I kind of like that line. And then she's like, you know, he's like, but I actually killed his dad though. And she's like, oh, well, all right then.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
no,
like,
and it's kind of funny because like in the way that he says it, she stops for a second, and it's like one of those put her hand on a gun, like, "What'd you say? Like you killed somebody? Like you know?"
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, "No, no, 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 no. Like 2 years ago, I killed his father in the match." And she's like, "All right, I'm doing the talking," and like, and she's like, "I make the calls." Like
Yeah. Well,
she had to,
and that was
yeah,
an interesting little element of it there though, too, that it's like finding out that piece of information made
she
it so that she's like, okay, now it's like, I mean, you know, they're,
he knows how to kill. Fuck it.
I guess it's just like it's just interesting that like within the story it makes sense. Yeah, you need to move the things along, but
Yeah.
like in reality, it'd be like maybe there's a deeper conversation that needs to happen before he starts joining the force.
Maybe of all people should not be the guy who murders somebody. Like out of all people,
Right.
maybe you need to just go home. You seem like you're a little too into this finding the guys who did this thing. Like what are you planning to do when you find it? Like as a
Exactly.
cop, maybe you should be asking these questions, but in the scenes that come a little after this, you're going to realize that maybe she just doesn't have the ability to ask questions. She just does whatever the fuck she wants. So
She's a shoot from the hip kind of
Y-
officer.
yeah, so anyway, so she's making the call, she's doing the talking. Then we go to a scene where people are watching and watching them make and then start making calls, and then we get wanted flyers for Leo being passed out, 10K for whoever finds them. And yeah, the cops and the bad guys are all now looking for Leo. It's everybody on his trail. So
This was one of the funnier things to me. This I did think was kind of goofy because I'm like, they're going out to canvas neighborhoods in France with wanted posters via a fleet of gangster paper boys. Like
yes.
this is like, is that a normal thing for the hood to do? Like, you know, we just have printed up flyers for all of the gangsters. Hey gangsters, you know, I'm a gangster. I'd like my fellow gangsters to go out and find this guy for me.
It's the weekly,
Yeah, right,
bounty,
exactly.
like
Here in the Gangster Gazette, you know.
yeah, like dude, like I'm telling you, some things like in our mind it seems off, but like I'm sure as a French person you're watching that like Yeah, that's familiar. I've seen that.
We got, you know, you keep saying this about the French cultural elements that we got to get some. If you are watching this video and you are in France, leave a comment below and tell us how much of this is like actual like French cultural related, or how much of this is just goofy stuff from the movie. All right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yes, we get people handing out flyers. We get, no, okay. So the cops and the bad guys are all now looking, and then I believe as we got what does it say? Teach her a lesson. I'm sorry. Who says this part? What do we have this note?
Oh well, just that I think that that was what the gangsters are watching the lady cop, and
Yes.
you get the impression that they are aware of who she is. So it's like, okay, we gotta go intimidate her a little bit. Is
Yes.
what they're
Okay.
trying. It was like a phone call that was happening at the
And
time.
so then we go into the hospital and we have Ciryl Gane waiting outside of the room where the cousin of Leo is laying in the hospital because he got his ass whooped. He got brutally beat up. The doctor is describing what happened to Ciryl Gane, and like I said, the the descriptions in this show are a little kind of gruesome. Like I don't know, like they went a little overboard letting you know how bad this dude got messed up, and I think it's quite funny that you see him laid up, like, mummified, and then you have the lady cop. She's like, so what happened? Like, where were you? Like, okay, like, I don't know who attacked you. Do you know what they look like? Did you get the phone number? And he's like, like, it's absolutely a treasure the way she interrogates him.
Yeah,
um
yeah. She's a no nonsense cop, no matter who she's talking to, including this kid who has been beaten up really, really fucking badly.
Dude, he's literally dying, and she pulls out a picture. Do you know who that is? You've
Yep.
seen this. Have you seen this girl? And he's, he doesn't even know how to fucking speak anymore. Like, he doesn't even have a lung. Super funny. Did you tell him? Oh, sorry. He said they had masks. And then she says, did you tell him where he was? Let's see. He doesn't know. I don't remember what that part is. And then Hugo, do you recognize this girl? And then she says she works at the pop, the club.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
As
Exactly.
bartender there.
Right. Yeah. So she shows him the picture she got from the apartment. Her sister works at the nightclub, and then you get that cough, cough, and face turns to the side, and you see just how badly this kid is burned up.
Yes, I said coughing to death starts. That was the next thing. He's gonna cough and die after that, basically, after she got the answer she needed, just because the story needed to progress. But he didn't. That wasn't part of it. They didn't actually go that way. Like I said, in my opinion, that would have been what I was expecting in the circumstances leading up to it. I think they subverted my expectations, not necessarily that they were trying, just as the norms are different. This is another one. I think a little difference makes a long way. So yes, let's see. Where are we at? Yeah, coughing to death. So, and then she walks out, and Ciryl wants to know who they are. Who are the bad guys? Um, and these are the guys waiting outside the hospital, is who Ciryl is asking
Well,
about,
yeah.
because they start approaching.
Right, exactly. So yeah, we see the burns on the kid's face. They leave that room.
Yes.
They're going outside and to back out to the entryway of the hospital, and the gangster goons are coming up to do that threatening that was talked about on the phone call a little earlier. She tells them to fuck off. She's not scared of their boss. We don't, know all of the details yet, but she obviously is familiar with who she thinks these people are. And she's just like that. That's good. That could have been the end of it there. Walking away, one of the goons says, say hello to your brother for me, and say hello to some baton-based police brutality from Lady Cop.
Yes. So you'll find out later just how much she loves her baton. This is a very key weapon in the French, armed forces, I would say. The baton is something that they are trying to pride their nation on, because they make it seem like it is the most handy dandy, useful item ever seen. So she whips out the baton and obviously beats these dudes basically to death. Like these dudes got what they were getting, and obviously she's not the one that should be giving it to them. Beats him with baton. Police brutality. You got people yelling, someone call the police, and it's like, what do you think they're gonna do? She is the police, guys.
Right.
Like,
I think Ciryl even says that.
yeah, and that's, if you guys are wanting to hear, that's the problem with some of these situations. When you get a police officer who's going way too overboard, it's like, who do you look for? These are the people that are supposed to be protecting you, and she's over here doing bullshit. And then we get her obviously in the boss's office. The captain is mad. He is irate, because actually he's not really irate, because he didn't really seem like he gave a fuck in his attitude necessarily, but like you're supposed to believe like he's pissed. Like
This is what I was talking a little bit about earlier, where we're getting into the classic "your badge and your gun" scene, where
yes,
Lady Cop is back at the station. This ass whipping is getting her in trouble, and even her best buddy cop guy that we were talking about earlier, the one that she's the godmother of the children, whatever. Even he thinks that she's gone too far. She's too much of a loose cannon. He can't help her anymore based on all of what she's been doing. She's got to turn in the badge and the gun. She's off. She's on administrative leave or whatever you'd want to call it at this point.
yeah, and this is a decent real part right here because like this is supposed to be the guy that you understand is close enough that he he knows her and like they're friends, obviously the godmother or whatever, but like the way that he says like I can't, he can't lose his job, I have a family, like it's relatable, like
Sure.
a lot of people hate their job, but like you can't necessarily just always quit, like you gotta provide for people, and I do kind of relate to that aspect. Like he's literally saying, fuck the friendship, like I gotta do what I gotta do, girl, sorry, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's understandable, definitely there, and I think that the way that they're portraying the friend up until this point does set up, or not set up, but it helps the way that we get some other information exposed later on, where you're not expecting it as much based on how he's being portrayed here. Everything is logical, like so far right now in his like everything he's portraying.
Yeah,
Which is
100%.
good.
So and then she leaves, she walks out, and obviously the room, the room is quiet, everybody knows what's going on, and then she leaves, and Ciryl Gane is waiting outside for her. They converse quickly, nothing to lose now. She don't have a fucking job, and she's like, all right, Ciryl, I'll give you all the information that I have right now because I'm jobless, so why not? I'll just tell the random guy who's following me. He's just going to get all the information. Ciryl obviously drops this great line, fuck him. That was a good one. I think maybe even she dropped it, but whoever dropped it, great line, fuck him. She says Leo was the informant, and this is where we find out, and like I said earlier in the movie, crazy reach by Ciryl to just be like, was he the informant? Like, why wasn't he just like a guy on the street? Like, you don't know who Leo is, like you didn't really grow up seeing him, that he was the son of the guy. But
yeah, the only thing I thinking about that, like through the progression, the only thing I can think of with that is that maybe because he did know that he was dealing drugs, like the mother had told him that earlier, that may a little bit of a leap, but that's the only like thing that could have possibly been that, but it wasn't explicitly said.
Yeah, it was definitely a plot point that wasn't really necessarily needed, I don't think, in this story. Like it could have just been a passerby, or like it could have just
she could have just told him. I mean, it was problem solved,
Yeah. And so Leo was the informant. Let's find him. The gangs are still looking for Leo. We're handing out more flyers. And what is really funny about this next part, and I do believe this is not building B. This is not the same one as before. This is a different apartment complex, even though they mainly look the same. It might have just...
No, it's definitely different because this is the where he's hiding now with the girlfriend. So this is her one.
But that's why I'm not sure. Well, obviously it's with a different person, but I didn't know if it was a different building in particular, because it was very funny the way that he's just hiding in the building. Like he's just in the apartment complex right outside of where the gangs are handing out flyers.
Yeah, I think exactly. Leo's wanted posters are going out by the dozen right outside the building. He's hiding in with his girlfriend.
Yes, yeah, and it doesn't look like they're armed to the brim or anything. Like he's just sitting there waiting to die, getting hugs and eating noodles. Like that's basically all there was there.
Comforted by the lady as the gang is swarming directly outside.
And then this is where so that scene ends, and this is where we get an interesting, very long scene. This is where a long scene starts. There's not necessarily a break in the action here. So I would like to let you guys know that it is about to get very, very fun. So we get a club scene. Club is bumping, music jumping, and Ciryl and Cop are walking around. Now, I want you guys to understand that the way they filmed this shot was to make you see how ginormous Ciryl Gane is. He's walking through this club, and you have the most unathletic looking people ever in this club. Like you got Homer Simpson on one end, Peter Griffin out there, and then Ciryl Gane's just walking through, and they have him in cool guy clothes, right? So he's got the leather jacket, the jeans, the boots, and he's walking around with a mean face with a scruffy beard, and he is massive, right? Cop is over here the lady cop, of course, is getting handsy with the bartender. She's reaching all across saying, yo, come with me. You need to come with us. Like, we need answers right now.
Well, yeah. So right. So they roll up into this club. They're scoping it out or whatever, and then they're trying to initiate a conversation with the bartender, who is the sister of the girlfriend
Friend of, yes,
of
Leo's
Leah. Yeah,
girlfriend.
exactly. Right. Correct. So that's what they're in the club to try to find her in order to find him. Lady Cop always wants to do the talking, even though Ciryl has never tried to initiate a conversation at all ever. She just is constantly telling him, "I'm doing the talking."
Shut up, just shut up.
Yeah. He's not a particularly loquacious character to begin with. He doesn't do a lot of talking to begin with, so it is funny that she's constantly telling him to let her do the talking.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so this is where the bouncer walks up behind him, and they're like,
Because the lady cop botches that conversation. By the way, that's like you said, she's getting handsy. Like she goes in like a bull in a china shop to this
yes,
girl. It was a very I think appropriate reaction from the bartender girl. Like she didn't know who the hell this person is, but
right.
this lady's just like coming in like like all guns a blazing
No
basically.
uniform, no badge visible, just reaching across the counter, grabbing her, saying, "You're coming with me." Of course, she
Right.
calls the bouncer. And this is where you get the worst dub ever. The bouncer walks up and you're watching him, and he's like, it's supposed to be like a little intense moment, but then the dub is like, "Hey, stop it right there." And like it was so bad.
Yeah, we didn't say this earlier. He watched the dubbed version and I watched the subtitled version. So that I guess I should have said that at the beginning of all this. Apologies, but yeah, no, that is funny though. Because
Yes.
the club bouncers are now they clear the area so that they all can fight Ciryl kung fu movie style here. So we're getting into one of the larger set piece action elements of the story here.
And this is where you should also know that the people that are the security guards here are trained also in mixed martial arts. They know how to fight too, because the cops, or the fight starts. Ciryl, okay, so sorry. The bouncer steps in and he grabs the lady cop or something. He's like, "Hey," "Hey, stop it right there." His really bad line. And then
Right.
Ciryl Gane grabs him and turns him around, and he's like, whatever. Ciryl punches a guy. Cop gets her baton. She's ready to go. She obviously whips it out. She hits the, and then she gets spin kicked out of frame. The dude does a tornado kick and kicks her across. This is the one of like 3 or 4 times she gets kicked and flies across the room.
She did a lot of flying in this film,
Yes.
I have to say. Yeah. Spinning kick, spinning side kick to the body sends her flying. I said Max Holloway would be very proud of that one.
Yes. And so this is what's actually funny about this scene is it genuinely felt like a filler moment because of how the scene continues on. The way that it starts, it's like, why didn't they just have it go that way the first time? Like, why'd they have to do the whole, okay, so anyway, so Ciryl is getting held back by one guy. They got him in the big brother position. He's got him by his arms, and Ciryl's, locked up and he's getting beat up. Ciryl gets beat up, thrown out, and kicked by multiple guys and spit on. That was a key note. The dude spits on him, which I was like, wow. And then it was actually a funny scene because the lady cop is standing there like, she's like, "All right, guys, we get it. We'll never come back. We'll literally just never come back."
Well, yeah.
Like,
So what happens with that is that all of the fighting that we just described was inside of the club, and again we'll talk about the filmmaking elements of things. There's a really nice, I thought, a very cool match cut. It's a match cut between Ciryl getting dropped inside the club and then also dropped outside of the club.
yes.
So the match cut happens, so now they're outside of the club. Cyryl's getting stomped by the bouncers. I thought it was, at least in that moment, good of the movie not to make him ridiculously OP, even if he is the hero and a former fighter. It's like 5 versus 1. One is not going to win, but eventually that's going to be subverted as well.
I think actually you're making a great point. Up until this moment, and like you said, or like I said, like I think the norm was a little different than we were expecting right here. Because like obviously what I was expecting is him to walk through and he mops everybody in the club, beats them all, has no problem with them, and that's about it, But the way that he actually loses, and they do like a little funny scene with the cops, like, "All right, guys, we get it. Like we'll just never come back." And in my mind, I'm like, "Oh, that's a cool story progression." Now they have to figure something else out. They can't just walk in. Like they have to do it at a different time, or they have to find different people. But what actually ends up happening is Ciryl Gane is laying on the ground, and he looks at his bracelet that the mom of Leo gave him, and he's like, all right, well, fuck this. And then he stands up because he wants to get his ass whooped again, is basically what it looks like. Because he stands up, takes his jacket off, does the Jason Voorhees walk back into the club. And, and I wrote, makes you wonder why he didn't do this the first time. He walks in there, punches the guy
Oh yeah,
immediately.
well, yeah, you're right. This was definitely a hilarious element because you're exactly right with like why this all. It was odd that we had to go outside and then come back in, but yeah, he looks at the rosary. The beast is now unleashed. He's seeing red. Ciryl drops the first round in the club fight, so now we go get round 2 to see if he
Yes.
can even up the score here. So yeah, now he marches. Exactly like I said, Jason Voorhees marched back in there, drops the bouncer, and stands over this tiny bartender girl, all bloodied up now.
We
Again,
gotta go. You're gonna come with me. Let's go. Let's
I
go.
just want to talk. I just want to talk. Yeah, I think it's understandable that this girl doesn't want to talk to you. Like,
She said she's having the worst day of her life. Like literally, like she was probably sitting there. She's like, dude, this dumb bitch grabbed me earlier, and like I don't even know who this. She said my sister knows her, and then Ciryl Gane's behind her, like looking at her. He's bloody, and he's like, he just killed a dude just a second ago. Anyway, so we're in this. He jumps over the bartender, and I want you guys to visualize what this space looks like for the bartender. It is a square in the middle, and there's seating all around it. So she's in the middle. Ciryl Gane jumps over top. So now he and the girl are in the middle of a square. The girl gets helped out by the manager after Ciryl Gane gets jumped on from behind by one of the guys. Another guy jumps in who helped the girl out. He jumps in there. So we have 3 guys in a very small confined square. I want you guys to understand that it is very difficult to coordinate fight scenes as it is, especially with a new actor as in Ciryl Gane. I mean, I'm sure he didn't go in there and know exactly how to make his punches look effective on screen, or he knew how to time it perfect with 2 other people when it comes to adding props into a lot of the combat that they were doing. But this was absolutely phenomenal, I thought, for what they were doing in the enclosed space. I said very well coordinated fight scenes. Ciryl's going ham. A lot is happening, but a very cool and effective fight scene confined to like a very small space with 3 people. And Ciryl was doing an amazing job with the physical acting. Like he literally was on his shit, and there wasn't a lot of quick cuts, and they were doing a lot in sequence. And I thought it was a very, very cool fight scene right here. This was great.
yeah. The second round of this bar fight is longer and more extended than the first
Yes.
portion, and this really does open up a lot of the fight scene elements. And yeah, I agree. I thought that this was really well coordinated because this fight it spans the first level of the bar, the club, and then it will eventually end up going upstairs and be in the second level. And like throughout all of this, like there's a progression to all of it. There are a couple of, we'll talk about some of the elements of it as we go, but like overall, this entire scene I thought was pretty well defined as far as the way that they blocked everything and all of the conducting of the fighting. It was definitely well produced. I appreciated it.
Yeah, so Ciryl jumps out of the little bartender spot. The club is in awe because he's literally just killed 2 people. Like the way that he was slamming them onto glass bottles, he was smashing glass in their face. There was a knife at some point that probably landed somewhere and stabbed somebody. Like these dudes are getting fucked up by Ciryl Gane. Like it's not just he's punching them. Like no, he's using all of the weapons at his disposal that are from utility items.
Yeah, and one of those I had in the notes was where there was one of the bouncers goes to swing a bottle at is that coming
Yep,
up?
that is next. So
Okay.
yeah, so the last guy, so the last guy walks up with mace.
Well, that's what it was just before that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so there's a one where a dude swings a bottle at Cyryl's head, and Ciryl ends up punching the bottle instead.
Nice.
Which I was like, that was a cool. It
Yes.
looked cool. Like I mean, it's those kind of details that like make it so that the action is enjoyable and like unique. To this film.
There was so many moments where they used a mixed martial arts move in a way that it wasn't just him throwing a flying knee. Like he would grab somebody and then pull them into like an elbow. Like it was more of a, like it felt like a brawly type thing, not like he was, Ciryl Gane obviously knows how to point fight. He knows how to strike at distance, but it didn't feel like he was doing any of that. Like it did feel like they were utilizing what could possibly be effective in a fight, and they were like, how could a fighter defend this. And we'll talk about it later. Ciryl Gane is an expert at defending all of these different glass bottles, knives, guns, weapons, cars. We'll
Except
talk
for
about
one, yeah, except for one notable
we'll
exception,
we'll talk about that later. But
Sure.
yeah, so and then he punches the guy with the glass bottle, and that was a really cool scene. And then so he gets out of the thing. A guy walks up with mace, starts spraying it. Ciryl Gane grabs his hand, bends it backwards, lifts him up. It was more like a suplex. Like he just like grabbed him and just dropped him, and it was onto a glass bottle on his face. So that dude was definitely going to be dead too. So that's 3 that right there.
But I had a question about the pepper spray though, because I'm like, was he just too far away for the pepper spray to hit him? Because is Ciryl just such a badass? Come on, that's what I mean. Like, is he so badass that he's immune to pepper spray? That was a little bit. I was like, come on, man.
Well, when we come up to the next, there's a scene in a second that we'll talk about that. Yeah, he's just immune to a lot of different things.
Immune to a lot, exactly.
But so yes, the scene with the pepper spray was funny because it definitely, you can watch it hit Ciryl Gane at first. Like, it's literally spraying him, and then he grabs it. But so yes, and then Ciryl Gane, after he drops the dude, he does a little belly drop and drops him on his face on the glass bottle. Ciryl Gane turns around and is walking towards the stairs. Right. There's a guy who's on the staircase, and he throws a kick. Ciryl Gane grabs him and yanks him into the metal pole, which was very funny. I was like, that was a pretty funny one. That's something like a guy like me would have happened to him. Like, Ciryl Gane would just throw me against the wall, Right. And I was just like, now Ciryl's just on a rampage, right? Now the head security guard is getting his, Ciryl Gane is yanking him back down the stairs because he's trying to run away. He's trying to like go up the stairs to get to more people. Mm-hmm. And then Ciryl Gane gets pulled back down the stairs by the 4th guy. And this is where I would like you to cue the picture that I had you send, because Ciryl Gane gets this guy. He gets tripped. Hold on, let me set it up for you before you play.
Please.
Ciryl Gane gets tripped and pulled down the stairs. The guy that is grabbing onto his legs gets immediately triangle choked by Ciryl Gane on the staircase. Cue the picture. Look at this. I know it's a little blurry, but you guys, look how menacing Ciryl Gane looks right here with a guy in a triangle choke. Okay, you can turn it off now. And it was absolutely hilarious. Gets a couple hammer fists. Then he turns around up. He's still defending the other guy. And then it was absolutely funny. The guy falls and he's looking at Ciryl Gane in that pose right there. And he's holding the choke. He's choking him out. And like, he's got this menacing look on his face. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop me right now. It was very, very funny.
Yeah, you got the Terminator element for that for sure. Yes. I also liked that while they were fighting on the stairs, the camera does this like tumble sideways move at one point.
I didn't notice it in this scene, but later there's a scene where they do something like that on the impact. And it's really cool.
And so that, I mean, we've noted a couple of those. Like this director has a cool way of incorporating the camera movements to like go along with the action that I thought was like a nice touch, because it was definitely it was unexpected in points, but it was impactful the way that he was doing it.
It wasn't overdone either.
Right, exactly, and it wasn't so much that it was like hacky and taking you out of everything. I thought it was a cool touch.
Yes, it was definitely in the moments where like you're watching the fight scenes and it's perfect momentum, where it's like it adds like a factor to it. Like, you can feel the impact. Now, this is by far the funniest scene that happens in the movie that comes up next. And I look at it now and I'm like, Ciryl Gane's character is low-key an asshole for this. Like, he probably shouldn't have done what he did right here, but it was just so funny the way the scene happened. So Ciryl Gane gets done choking the dude out on the stairs. He stands up, he walks up. He's chasing the main security guard down, and a guy, just a random guy in a red t-shirt, walks up from behind Ciryl Gane and smashes a bottle over his head. And I want you to understand how quickly this second move happens, because they just make it seem like this is just so not the catalyst of the movie. So he smashes the bottle over his head and then stabs him, and then stabs the whole bottle in his stomach. It goes like at least like the entirety of the bottle. Like, it was the most stab with a bottle you've ever seen. And it was very funny in the scene because you're supposed to take this as a joke. Like Ciryl Gane is just so hopped up on adrenaline. Like he got hit with a bottle and stabbed, and he does the whole look at him like he does the no sell. Like that was basically he no sold it,
That's
and
so
he
funny.
looks at him like you're a fucking idiot, and then grabs this random guy. And this is why I think it's bad, because it's like this is just a random dude who's like somebody's got to be a hero if the security can't do it. He just grabs him and throws him off a balcony like the Hulk.
This was the one goofiest part of this movie to me, because why did this nerd get involved at all? There's no reason for this dude to have been. He's not a bouncer. He's not a character that we know from anywhere else. He is literally just a random club goer trying to be a hero in the moment for no reason. He doesn't even know why Ciryl is doing what he's doing or why the bouncers are doing what they're doing. He is just a dude. And it's funny that you said that he no sells, because I literally have that in the notes too. Yeah, he hits him with the bottle, breaks the bottle over his head, stabs him into the torso, like you said, into his body. The bottle is sticking out of his body, like, without him holding it. It's literally just stuck into him. And yeah, Ciryl just turns to does the no sell, and then over the balcony he goes. It was like, why at all was this guy part of this?
Like I get that they're trying to build up like who like Ciryl Gane is this monster killer right now. He can't be stopped. But it's like the movie has been decently realistic up until that point. The break of the bottle would have been funny. We've seen that all the time of people who just like shake off a break to the bottle and like it's a funny moment. But why stab him? Because in that moment, my thought is, well, now the movie's got 30 minutes left. He's going to be dying on the rest of the movie. He's literally
Right.
going to have a wound. The rest of the movie is him stumbling to the end of it, because he's literally bleeding out of his stomach. And then anyway, so yeah, he throws that guy off a balcony. I said, to note, the movie has been fairly realistic, so I don't know how he'll continue. You know how he does? Just yanks it out, throws it. He just yanks the bottle out of his stomach, throws it. Like that's
And then
literally
continues on. I mean, because that's the other thing. What I had said is that we're going to move into now where he's got two more guys on this narrow catwalk kind of
the
elevated
Mortal
pathway.
Kombat one.
The Mortal Kombat part. And my note just for this is that obviously Ciryl Gane is a T-1000. I mean, he's literally just a Terminator.
This is another awesome moment where you have to understand that when filming fight scenes in movies, like it is, yeah, it's more like a dance than it is a fight, but like you still have to be on the cue. When you have two people, when you're in the middle, you're Ciryl Gane, and you have to play this little volley between two people. And I actually think this was a very funny scene because he beats them both, and then the one guy gets up, and then it's like, okay, let's finish. We got to finish the last guy, and then he looks over, and then the other guy starts getting up, and then he finishes him again, and then he gets up again. It's like, dude, okay, let's get these dudes over. And it's kind of really funny that the way they don't know what they want it to be. Actually, in that moment right there, it's like, okay, is he the dude that nobody can beat, or is he the dude that's struggling to put a dude down after three, massive impact, whatever you want to say? Like, I don't know. But that was definitely fun. The Mortal Kombat 2D fight. I said Ciryl can 100% be an action star the way that he can do fight choreography. He is so good at what he does. And one of the guys in the background, oh my God, those guys are lifeless. That was a great one after this. That was so great.
Yeah, so you might have gotten a couple of little like dub things that might have been slightly different for me, but there were a couple of like background add-ins that were pretty funny. That I guess was one of them there. But yeah, so I mean he's basically like wiped out all of these bouncers at this point. He sees the bartender girl, and again is just, I just want to talk. And then the club owner has him at gunpoint with a shotgun now. So he's got the shotgun to Ciryl, and Ciryl and the owner see this green laser on the owner's shirt, and then he goes flying through some doors behind him, and we cut to Lady Cop, who just shot something at him. I thought it was a little bit goofy. I guess she shot him with a beanbag gun or something is what I had in the notes, because at the time it was like hard to figure out exactly what was happening here. And then it looked, the way that he went flying backwards, it looked like a rope was tied around his waist and he got sucked backwards through the doors. So I don't know if that was just a technical aspect of the filmmaking or whatever. It didn't look super realistic, but I think that the issue with that not looking 100% realistic was the way that they set it up without you knowing exactly what was happening. It like it didn't work because
Mhm.
of all of those elements. If we had seen it all set up, then and like he went flying back that way, it would have been like, oh, okay. But like since it was supposed to be like a little bit of a misdirect with like the laser, and then what happened, it was a little bit goofy.
Yeah, I agree. Well, when you watch it with the dub, the subtitle that comes up, it says "blast of compressed air." So uh, I don't know what she hit him with. You know, she didn't obviously didn't have a gun. It was a noob tube, like it was a little grenade launcher. So whether it was a beanbag, normally those come out of like a shotgun. I think, though I could be wrong.
Well, she'll eventually say that it was so I have it in the notes later when
Oh,
she says it, but like it was like some kind of like flashbang thingy or something. I'll say it when it
yeah.
comes up,
Well, either
but
way. So yes, she hits him with the compressed air thing, and then I wrote here, she is gonna lose her entirety of her life. Like, dude, the police are gonna fucking bury her. Like, she is just and to note is like everything that they just did. Of course, it's at a club. Like this is on camera. You will find this out later, but I'll
right.
spoil it for you right now. She is on camera, facing the camera with a noob tube in her hand, shooting the owner of the bar. Like she's gonna be dead. Like they're
That she
gonna put
just,
her
I guess,
under
just
the jail.
happens. Yeah, and she just happens to roll around with this thing. I guess it must have just been in the car, in that little shitty car that she has, because she
Well,
didn't have it before.
there was a scene, I don't know if you caught it, when he threw the jacket at her, she opened the trunk, threw the jacket in, and she gives
Oh,
it a little look
okay.
like, I guess we'll use this,"
Oh
like.
no, yeah, okay. So I guess there was a little setup for that. All right, my bad.
So yes, yes, please trust me is what Ciryl is saying to the girl, to the bartender, after everybody that she presumably, the work boyfriend that she had is probably dead, like she probably went there every day happy to see him, and
Oh,
Ciryl
hold
Gane
on,
just
hold
walked
on.
in and killed him.
Sorry, okay, because I know, yeah, that is right there. But one thing I did want to note, because this was something funny
Mhm.
too. We just talked about the owner who got shot with the compressed air thing, right? That works. The owner is knocked backwards through the doors, right? What those doors are is a bathroom stall, a single bathroom stall with saloon doors in the middle of the second floor of a nightclub. So just I hope that no one has to take a shit in that, like, and that's the only
It
bathroom that you have, because that is a very
it
open, easily accessible bathroom in the middle of a nightclub.
It's not even just that they're saloon style doors, it's that they're motion censored. So Surreal opened the door when he walked up to it, and the
Oh
dude's in
gosh,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, if you are using the bathroom and anybody walks by that door, it's like, just fucking
Yeah,
opens.
not exactly accessible to women, I would say.
Yeah.
Generally they have to sit down to use the restrooms. Like yeah. So just wanted to note that, because that was kind of goofy, but that's how that ended. But yes, now the after every bouncer in this club has gotten his ass kicked, finally the bartender is like, okay, I'll talk to you. It's like you
Yes.
kind of don't have a choice, I guess, at that point. But all
Yeah,
right.
and I made a note here. How is Surreal standing? The bottle was halfway deep into his stomach, like, and then he yanks it out,
Yeah,
like
he should be bleeding out right now, for real.
Yes. So okay, so she's saying a conversation that I don't really give a shit about. It's basically setting up the whole, we got to get you cleaned up and we got to, take you back and make sure you get the rest. And I said he is going to need a million stitches. If you think that you're going to clean him up with a first aid kit, like, and bandages with tape, like, no. Like, dude, he the story's over. He's gonna be in the hospital for months. Like, there's just nothing you can do about it. And then,
Right.
so we get to the next scene. They're on the rooftop. Surreal Gun literally he takes his shirt off, and obviously he doesn't have a fucking scratch on him. Like, he literally has like a little cut that you can put a band-aid on. And this is where you get a hilarious scene from the lady cop, where she's audibly drooling over Surreal Gone. He takes his shirt off. She's, oh fuck, holy shit, you're a good looking guy, aren't you? Yeah,
Yeah,
that
she kind of
was.
gets yeah, she starts to come around a little bit to the attraction, but yeah, there so just before that, when with the bartender, real quick though, because I did think
Hmm.
it was kind of funny that, like, so they're talking to her. Finally they find out that this Leo kid and the girlfriend are staying, or where they're staying, and they apparently won't warn them that they're coming, whatever, so that they're going to be able to get to this kid. And then the bartender has now come around to the understanding that they're there to help. And I thought it was very funny that after all of that, this could have all been avoided if that girl had just had a conversation with them instead of being freaked out, but finally did a complete 180 after everyone in this club's asses got kicked. So it's like,
Yeah.
if I was one of those bouncers, I would have probably been a little pissed off at this chick. But either way, so we're on the roof now at that point. This is with the feelings start to swell between these two to a little extent. They find out that Leo and the girlfriend are in a neighborhood so dangerous that the cops can't go there. That's one thing that they make a point about. And I said, A, that's a great place to hide from hardened criminals. And B, judging by the cops we saw from the beginning of this movie, the cops aren't trying to do shit anyway. So, like, maybe everywhere in France is a place the cops don't want to go.
Yeah, no, 100%. So this is another scene. So after we get the lady cop flirting with Ciryl, talking about how in shape he is, we get the goofy smile from Ciryl. He drops his patented "I'm happy" smile. He's just so goofy looking, and it's great. So anyway, she drops this line: "You got beat up a lot in the cage, huh?" And then his response was, "Yeah, yeah, I did." And I'm like, flirting. This is flirting 101 in this movie. And,
Right.
And I said, drink together and talk about nothing I care about scene. This is exactly what happens. She hands him the bottle. He takes a swig, and then they smile at each other. And then I wrote, surely a surreal sex scene is coming. It has to be. He took notes from Connor. And
Well,
then okay, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, you can't not care about what they're talking about, though, because this is the only other time in the movie, essentially, where fighting is even really discussed. I mean, very, very briefly a little bit later on, but this is really one of the only other times that MMA even plays a part in this story, where she was asking him about his time fighting. He said he loved it. He trained to be the best. Lady Cop is drinking some Jack straight from the bottles. He gives some to Ciryl. The mood is shifting from light to serious back and forth. They're getting closer. And Lady Cop tells Ciryl that she's got beef with the gangster squad because they tried to get her brother, or they got her brother. They tied him to a chair and fucking burned him alive. That was, he was just a community outreach guy.
No, you're missing. There was a very funny part here, and I don't know if it was meant to be funny, because obviously what we hear after is like obviously not funny. So the scene starts off, and Ciryl goes, "So you live alone?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then he's just sitting here. He's like, "So who's that guy in that picture over there?"
True, yeah.
And then she hits them with the gulp. She, like, you can see her out. Her throat drops or whatever, and she's like, "No, that's my brother. Yeah, he was dead. He died. Like, they tied him to a chair and burned him." And it was funny for a second, because like I can relate so much. It's like, so it's a nice place. It's that guy in that picture right there.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, that you're right. It was funny in that moment too, because if that hadn't been what came next, it certainly would have given you the impression that she was searching for the right answer.
Yes, exactly. Like I was 100%. Very funny scene. She says that she's grew up with the bad guys. She grew up around him. Her brother got involved with them, and they pissed him off, and they burned him alive.
Well, that was the thing, is that he was like, again, if there's a criticism, I would say, is that like they're doing the thing where they like really want to draw a hard line between the gangsters and the good people of the story, because not only was the brother not a gangster, but this brother was a community outreach worker. And I just said it was like, stay off the streets, kids. And then they just start dousing him with gasoline, kind of thing. So it's like, they went a little bit, just a hair farther with like making him like, he's not just a good guy, he's the best guy.
Yeah, and so I said this before, and I made another note of it. The tortures are pretty gruesome. Hopefully not very common in IRL in France, but
yes, absolutely. Hopefully this is not happening on the reg in France, and also that they're filming it and sending it to people all the time. Because that was another thing, that not only did they tied up the brother, they burned him alive, they filmed it and sent it to Lady Cop, and then these gangsters just disappeared off the face of the planet.
And then Ciryl drops this bar right here. Okay, so he says, he asks, why won't the cops do anything about it? And I want you to understand that this is the man that just murdered 12 people in a bar or a nightclub and is wondering why the police are not doing anything. Well, you're watching firsthand that they don't give a shit what you do in their city.
Right.
So,
yeah, whatever. Exactly. No, and that goes back to the note I just made about, it's like the cops ain't going to do anything anyway. So what the fuck's the difference whether they go day, night, or otherwise? But my note too with the whole thing with them disappearing after taking over the territory, this gangster squad, is why would you why would you disappear if you literally just did all of this work to claim your block?
Yeah, true. They're afraid of you now, and then you just leave. I
That's
mean,
right, exactly. It's like you went out of your way to do like to prove that you're the biggest and the baddest, and then all of a sudden you just sort of disappear. I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me in the moment.
so this next scene that's coming up is absolutely hilarious, and I really think we should normalize what happens here.
Hell yeah.
So our lady cop friend, she said, she asked if Surreal's feeling better, and Surreal's like, yeah, okay, and then she just jumps in his lap and tries to shove her tongue down his throat. I mean, there was no hesitation to it, and Surreal is obviously, he's supposed to be playing the good guy. He's the guy. Whoa, come on, girl, no, boobs, no, put him away, whoa. So she tries to stick her tongue down his throat. Surreal's like, no, stop, like, come on, who even said I wanted to? He's trying to tease her a little bit because he's a little fuckboy. And then she hits him with the sex would just be nice. I just want to relax tonight. And I said, you know what? I actually have it. You know what? Normalize it. This is pretty good. That was a bar. I actually think she made very good points there. Ciryl for sure wants to as well. They start kissing very, very weak. I don't even think the lips touched in the scene. I'm not gonna lie. Ciryl he didn't want to touch her. He wasn't trying to get too into it in the scene. And then we didn't get no sex scene. So
yeah, it just kind of fades out at that point. But I did want to say it, from the other perspective here. So she walks up to him and goes to kiss him, and he's like, what? And she's like, bro, I had a hard day. I could die tomorrow. Straight up, I just want to fuck.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting element because, like, the way that you're describing it from the dub, I'd be curious to know what the exact French translation is, because in the subtitles, it literally said, I want to fuck. Which is why I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. She was being a little bit more forceful with it. And then, so yeah, Cyryl's like, he pulls the consent card on her, and he's like, who said that I wanted to? And she's like, oh, you don't? And then she just keeps going. And I'm like, Ciryl Gane is being SA'd right now.
Yeah,
like,
no, she's the worst cop ever. She cannot stop breaking laws.
But so, if Ciryl wanted to push the issue, then, this could have been a legitimate case of assault. They'd turn the tables. What if it was the man and the woman's roles were different in this thing?
She was running the crime ring. She was literally assaulting me throughout the entirety of it. She was using her position of power. Like, Ciryl Gane is a case here.
He is the victim in this unfortunate encounter that they had now, but it all turned out fine because he obviously did, so he wanted to. So yes. We they get into their little implied lovemaking session there, and we fade out, and now we enter into the gangster lair at night, where 2 cars are on fire and dudes are doing donuts on motorcycles. I said these gangsters have cool hobbies.
Yes. Yeah, no, they were definitely, they do have cool hobbies. They were ripping up the dirt bikes, and the beginning, you don't really know what they're doing. I'll explain very soon. They're tying chains to the dirt bikes,
right.
And you're watching it, you're like, there's no ice around. What could they be doing with those chains on a dirt bike? The bad guys are setting up a truce between the other bad guys, and this is a bad guy that you've never even seen up until this point, I believe. This is just another rival gang.
Yeah, well, we will come to find that it is a representative of the gang that is the man that was from the warehouse that is being tortured. This is a representative of his gang, and now they're trying to have a meeting of the minds. It's a meeting of the gangster squads, and they're proposing a truce.
Yes, and yeah, I said blah blah blah, bad guy talk, and then they put the guy who was captured at the beginning, who we thought was stomped to death, who then came back later and watched his family get tortured. He gets pulled out, and this is the card that they are using. They're going to get rid of him. That means all the information on the other gang is going to be gone, and they will be able to make their moves, and they did a favor for them, so now leave them alone so they can run the fucking everything that comes into the city is going to be through this gang.
Correct. Yeah, you keep your neighborhood, you sell our drugs, we're going to be the top level of everything. You hustle for us, and this representative guy is like, why would I hustle for you? Well, your already tortured boss is now having his arms linked to the motorcycles, and then what happens
Yes.
happens.
Yeah, I said, yeah, this guy, like, because you can kind of already see what they're setting up to do. And I'm like, wow, this dude's about to get fucked. Like, this is going to be crazy. This is like Mad Max style, but it's like that old chariot torture device where they tie every limb to a horse and then they send
Yep,
him running.
that's a drawn and quartering, but they didn't do all four limbs, but yeah.
Yes, they with the arms, and then they pull. They get on the dirt bikes, and then they start riding. And it actually wasn't as quick as you would assume. You would think they just ride and then they get pulled, yanked off. No, they actually sat there for a minute, revving the engines, torturing him. Trying to rip his arms off, and then his arms get ripped off. I wrote fatality. Oh, and then for good measure, just walk up and shoot him in the back of the head.
Hasn't this guy gone through enough? He gets stomped out. He has his weed stolen. He's got his family getting messed with, and then, yeah, arms ripped off from either way. And like you said, yeah, I actually, I thought as far as that scene went, I liked the way that they presented that, because it was, you saw the struggle of the arms having to, like it wasn't like they just instantly like popped off of both sides of his body. It was like he went outward in like, crucifix kind of position. And then it took a little bit of struggling and eventually they gave.
You say that all action movies are like this, but I'm telling you, bro, the torture methods that they came up to show you in this is making me question what be going on in France. I'm serious.
Well, yeah, that's like, I didn't realize that France had like a Mexican cartel style gangster element, and they
the
probably
dirt bikes
don't.
is crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean,
like,
this is certainly something that you could conceivably think that like cartel members would do.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is that level and presentation of the gangsters in this thing, is that they're very ruthless and brutal.
Yeah. So that scene ends with them shooting the guy in the back of the head, and then they're like, truce. Okay, cool. So then now
we got a deal.
Now we got a deal. We skip to the police station where the video footage of Ciryl Gane and the lady cop is being shown. And all of the security guys are just injured and beat to shit, sitting there in the cop's office.
I thought that was a very funny introduction to that, where it's just panning across
Yeah,
their faces,
yeah,
and they're
exactly.
all stone faced watching themselves get their ass kicked on video.
Yeah. No, I think what they should have done, I actually think would have set that scene over the top, is that there was one of the scenes where the girl actually was whooping a couple of the guys or whatever, and that's when they were doing the pan across, when they were watching the girl beat them up. Like, that would have been really funny.
Yeah,
So anyway, so they're all aware who the cop is now. They're like, oh, she works here. Like, this is who we're looking for. The captain is trying to get answers, and then we see the old friend cop walk away and make a call. We don't know who he's talking to, presumably just making a call. Presumably it's an important call though. Ciryl and then we go to the next scene. Ciryl and the lady cop are at the apartment where Leo is. The police chief is talking to the bartender from the club. Leo and Ciryl meet again. Okay, so they're at the station. Sorry. Yeah, they go from the building to the station, I believe.
Well, yeah, they're in the office, and then the head cop wants the bartender girl and Ciryl, the guy who kicked all of their asses. Like the lieutenant is saying, I like you need to get me those people, because it's just all of those, the bouncers, lady cop, and those two are not there. So the head dude is like, get those other two.
Gotcha. So Leo and Ciryl meet again, and they're sitting in the lobby of this police station, or whatever you want to say. And now we're starting to get calls. The police are getting a call that they're, all teams are heading out, dispatched, and
oh, actually, my bad. Lady
no,
Cop.
go ahead.
I think. Yeah, I said Lady Cop was not there with them. It was just the bouncers. Like, I guess they had gone to the cops, and now the cops now are aware that that Lady Cop and Ciryl are doing their thing. So I guess they want all of those people. Lady Cop, the bartender, and Ciryl is what they're looking for. Sun is coming up, so Lady Cop and Ciryl are now going into the zone so dangerous the cops don't go there.
Gotcha. Yes. So the bad guy gets a call and he knows where the kid is at. Leo is protesting that he's not going to go with Ciryl. I actually think Cyryl's character does a decent job of negotiating right here. Like, shut the fuck up. You can be mad about it all you want. Just shut up. We got to go. Like, it's different, I don't remember exactly what he said, but this was a great moment. They go to walk out the front door and they see that the bad guys are there. So they quickly head out the back door. And this is where Ciryl and the group, Ciryl, Leo, and the girlfriend and the lady cop are all confronted with a motorcycle with a guy on the back seat with a machete. Ciryl tells these guys, they tell him to run because he's going to deal with the people on the motorcycle. And this is where you find out that Ciryl is able to beat up any weapon by hand, no matter the fixture that they have to use it. So these people drive a motorcycle directly at Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane does a Superman punch to knock both of them off of the motorcycle in one swoop. And then it was a very funny scene where he gets chased by a million people and he runs away really goofy. Anything to add
Well,
there?
yeah, so I think we missed a couple of things before that part there, though.
Okay.
Only because, so yeah, I mean, they find Leo at the apartment, whatever.
Yes.
They get him, but then we cut to the bartender, who is the sister of the girlfriend, the one that they were fighting over, whatever. She's at the station, and now they're saying that like the lady cop is like going to start a war based on all of what's
Yes.
going on here. The entire French police force like is aware of this now, basically. And then we find out that lady cop's partner is in with the gangster squad because he's the one that tips off the main gangster that they're coming.
That's not where we find that out at.
But we do, yeah. I mean, cause like I mean, it's very brief. He's like on the phone real quick.
No, the old cop friend definitely makes a call. I said that part, but it's not.
Oh, okay.
It's not told who it's to. It could be to the
my
lady
bad.
cop.
Okay,
That's who you're
got
supposed
you.
to imply. I think you're supposed to imply he's calling the lady cop to let him know,
Oh,
like, hey,
okay.
they're
Maybe.
coming for you.
Oh, okay.
So yes, we're in the apartment building, yeah. And then the police chief is talking to the bartender. Leo and Ciryl are at the apartment, and then they're ready to go. They got to leave.
Right.
So they
Yeah.
go downstairs. They're at the front door. There are people at the front that just pulled up, so they go out the back, and that's where they have the guy on the motorcycle.
Right.
The two
Yes.
guys on the motorcycle.
Yeah. I got you. Okay.
Okay. And then Ciryl obviously does a Superman punch to both of them and knocks them off the motorcycle. Anything to note about that part?
No. Yeah. I mean, just that was like one swift motion, and then like stomping on a pregnant spider. 20 goons all come out of nowhere to chase him down thereafter.
Well, the funny part about the whole thing with the motorcycle and the machete is if you watch it. So the guy's driving the motorcycle, the guy with the machete's on the back, and he's got it in his right hand. When Ciryl runs up to them, he swings the machete on the right side, but Ciryl punches them from the left side. So it's like you weren't even gonna. You would have chopped his arm off if you were on the right side,
Right. Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah. It was like kind of one of those ones where it was like cooler looking than functional to anything.
Yes.
But that's fine.
And then, like I said, Ciryl turns away and he runs away from the 20,000 goons that are chasing him. And this is really funny.
Flood that area.
Yes, it's really funny because, like I said before, Ciryl is in the worst clothes for utility. He's in a leather jacket, denim jeans, and boots. So when he turns around to run, you can see why Ciryl Gane is not a track athlete. This guy he struggles to get speed. He like gets his legs moving. It was hard for him.
And I said that Ciryl runs for a long time. Talk about a cardio machine at heavyweight.
Yeah.
Finally.
He's outrunning 50,000 people.
Right. Yeah. It's because I'm just trying to like give you the scale of this. I say like it's a massive amount of these gangsters are chasing him at this point. Like it is a very, very large amount of dudes that are all following this one guy.
So here, this is the path that you got to understand that they all cover. So Ciryl Gane runs. He goes through a door. He goes upstairs. Okay. So the people are chasing him from behind. So they go upstairs. He looks over the balcony. They're below him. He can't jump. He looks in front of him. They turn the corner. So he can't go anywhere. And this is where you get a slow motion scene. You're like, oh shit. Like what's he going to do?
Surrounded at that point.
He's literally surrounded. What is going to happen? And in this point, this is another moment where I think they were subverting our expectations without knowing it. Because in this scene, what would Ciryl do? Like in an American film, he'd probably jump off, pull out his pistols that he had from the entire time,
right.
Whatever. In this scene, he's literally slow motion cuts and he's looking back like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then the police show up and save him. And it's like, whoa, what?
Well, and they not only that, they like just kind of like he just sort of strolls by them. It was that was one element I did think was a little bit weird. Like he's getting advanced upon from all directions, so he really has nowhere to go. And then the cops roll up, and he's just kind of like, right
Yeah,
past everybody. They don't stop him. I mean, like, they don't really, at this point, they don't even really know, like, they're looking for him too. Like, we just
they
had the
just watched them beat the shit out of 12 people in a nightclub.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, it was just a little odd that like he just kind of like walks over to Lady Cop because she is there. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess her directive to say, don't do anything to him. But it was just like you would think in a normal in normal circumstances, like in more grounded in reality film, which obviously this is becoming not that anymore. But like, it already has become not that. But like at this point, it would have been like everybody on the ground or everybody gets taken down, and then maybe back at the station you sort it out. But like they just sort of like are going to apprehend all the bad guys, and good guys Ciryl just sort of do right over to Lady Cop.
And then they don't actually explain what happens after this because it's just a little crowd of police against presumably the entirety of the gangs. And if they didn't care before, why wouldn't they just kill the police and then go kill Ciryl? Like in that moment, why not just finish the job? You already collected the entirety of the gang. Like, you're not gonna, you talk about scheduling conflicts. You think you're gonna get everybody from that gang in this moment together again? I don't believe so. You got to get the job done.
Well, I think the implication there was that the gang is like so massive that maybe it's not the entirety of it. It's just that big that it's a whole big chunk of them. But even still, like the amount
Everybody
of
in France is a gang member.
yeah, for real. I mean, like the amount of cops versus the amount of goons was like it really did not seem like the cops were going to be able to overwhelm them.
And they do the same dumb shit that fucking guy, the security guy did. They came out with the fucking mace and the fucking, the bear spray. Like, dude,
Yeah.
they none of them have guns. Like, it's crazy.
We cut back to the police station where the bartender and the girlfriend, their sisters, of course, are there reuniting. And I was like, did they just arrest 500 goons? It's like,
Yeah.
that's kind of what we're left with.
Yeah, no, so yes, we go back to the police station. And this is so funny here. They're talking at the police station, and one of the cops said, "Don't worry, we'll make sure you're safe. We'll go ahead and take you home." I'm like, we gonna take her right back where they know she fucking lives? What are you talking about? Like, how
Flyers went out to every human being in the city in France. It's like there is no safe place, it would seem, and home certainly would be like the last of those places.
I think this is also just the cynic in me. It's like anytime a police officer says something in cinema, any way they say it, like I take it the wrong way. It's like, you better do your job better than just I'll take you home. It's like, no, where's the witness protection? Where's anybody that cares? Where's anything? Take them to your house. Like that's happened before, I think. I don't know. But
poor service, poor protection.
Yeah. So the police want to talk to the cop girl. Leo and Ciryl start talking a little bit. Ciryl wants to let him know that he knows more about what Leo's going through than he does. And I actually think it was a decent moment where he's like, I don't necessarily do, but I kind of do. It's not 100%, but I do.
Before that, I did want to say one thing, because this is the point in the movie where this like popped up to me, is that Lady Cop does the same concerned stare for like 3 seconds every time she's about to speak. And by this point in the film, it was getting a little bit like much, like, I don't want to knock, like, she was not a bad actress overall, but like she was portraying all of those those times when she would be introspective, she has this dramatic pause. Those times before she would get dramatic, she has this pause. Like, it's just like, might have wanted to vary it a little bit, or maybe show a little bit of evolution of the character, just a tiny bit, because she got a little one note by this point. I just wanted to throw that in there, because that was by here I was noticing it.
I didn't want to bring it up in a way that sounded like I was shitting on her, because she definitely gave a performance that made me care about watching. But in a movie like this, when you have somebody who's making their like acting debut, you would want to get like a co-star that's gonna possibly be able to carry the performance if this is not necessarily what they're suited for. But I think Ciryl does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the performance here. Like, he really did a decent job. And I know saying that about a mixed martial artist, it makes it seem like he's just some bum. Like, this dude's an actor now. But like, no, he genuinely is decent at just on a whim. He wanted to go make a movie, and he kind of stole the show. I thought the Leo kid actually did a really good job too, to be honest. But
yeah, I thought he was pretty good. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I was saying, I don't think that she was like terrible or anything. She certainly was fine for the role and the type of character, but like a little, just a little bit of an evolution of the character would have helped just take it that much farther, because it does get a little one note. That's just the way to put it.
So yeah, Ciryl and Leo are talking. Ciryl tells him that he lost his father when he was young too, and he fucked up and got himself into bad situations, and he doesn't want that to happen to Leo. And at this point, I wrote down Ciryl is a damn good actor. Like, not even just for like the athlete turn actor, or just like the Arnold type of thing, where it's like the person who's not necessarily an actor but they give it their best and it's kind of endearing. Like, Ciryl actually puts on a performance where you're watching it and it's Ciryl Gane kind of becomes a character in the show. He's that Ciryl Gane doesn't act like that. Like, I think that's why it's also a good character performance for him. Like, he is a little stoic in the movie, but like, Ciryl's kind of a very jovial kind of character. He loves to laugh and kind of stuff. But in this, he is putting on a performance. I think it was very, very good by him.
Yeah, I thought the scenes between him and Leo were pretty heartfelt, and
On
then
the sub was pretty good too, like the actual the French version. Like,
oh
Ciryl was
yeah,
doing
you're
good.
right, yeah, exactly, yeah. Him actually delivering the lines, I thought was pretty effective.
Cool.
I thought it was all pretty good. Yeah, definitely nothing that stood out as like that was out of place or anything like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can definitely like he certainly embodied the role, and I thought that was important for a movie like this where he's such a central character.
Yeah.
And this is also the scene where the rosary, the bracelet, kind of comes into play a little bit there, just to it signal to the Leo character that Ciryl had talked to the mother. So it's like, thanks for helping, but I can't forgive you still, is basically what he gets from that.
Yeah, I didn't like this scene. Like I said, the rosary kind of thing, the payoff really didn't seem like what I was hoping for, I guess. Like, this was supposed to be the moment where, like, oh, Leo comes to terms with it. Like, he tells Ciryl, like, no, I want you to keep it. Like, it's just go ahead and keep it. Like, I don't want it anymore. Help you remind me of, whatever the case is.
Well,
That's kind of weird, but
yeah, so I mean, but so now like Ciryl has to break through that a little bit more, as far as the like getting past that barrier with Leo. And this is where Ciryl says he does know what Leo's going through. And I said at this point, if he says that his dad was also killed in an MMA fight, I'm going to lose my shit.
yeah,
But thankfully that does not happen.
no.
He lost his father at the same age as well.
Undisclosed,
Right.
probably a mixed martial arts bout in France, but who knows?
Could have been.
So, yes, and then Ciryl. Okay, sorry. So they take Leo for his statement, and the bad guys know Leo's talking. Like, that was right after we learned that. Right after, I don't know if it was just a little quick cut. It might have just cut to the boss, and he's like, "Oh, he's talking. He's something like that." Ciryl goes ahead, is calling the wife of the guy he killed, and it's telling her what had happened. And then crime is going down. Police are heading out. And then I put in quotation, seems like a diversion. It's towards the end of the movie. Obviously, they got to get the police out of the station where the heroes reside. So that was my point there. Go ahead. You
Well,
think it?
yeah, no, because so like at this point, I mean, I think that the call that I was thinking about before was the one that tips us off that the partner is shady, though, because like I already had it in the notes from before that like the friend cop is like the shady cop. Because then the two of them end up getting called into the office at one point, and I had it there. And then now, so yeah, where we're at here is that, yeah, Leo is off to give his statement to the shady partner and lady cop, but he's coming around to Ciryl, helping him to channel his teenage dad rage a little bit. So it kind of thaws out there, but
I think the shady partner thing, I agree. Like, that's what we're expecting after all the times he gets the call and he picks up the phone anytime something happens. And now we know everything
because
about
we
Leo.
definitely do find that out here.
No, it's not yet. I'm telling you, it's
Yeah.
not yet. Because the when it happens, it is more even weirder because it comes and goes. Like, so let me explain. At least how it go down for me. So we're in the interrogation room. Leo's talking to the police. He's telling them everything that he saw from the beginning. Not only did he almost get caught, he decided to go inside, by the way, because we're in a little flashback scene.
Oh, no, hold on, no, back
Okay,
up, because this is where, no, like, I mean, I don't know if maybe it's just the where our notes, like where you put the notes, but because the scene before here is the main the bad guy boss dude, the Drake Romero guy that he tells shady partner, you can't let the kid talk. If I go down, you go down. You shouldn't have done our coke or fucked our whores. Like, that scene was in there before. Like, they're on the phone.
I remember that part, but I don't think it was about the friend cop, because there's a part right here.
That's who he was talking to.
I don't think so, because then but they're in the interrogation room and then they go, there's a mole. Wait, there's a mole. Like that was the moment that we're
Oh,
supposed to
so you
realize.
yeah, well, okay, maybe there were parts that I
I
was misinterpreting here then.
no, I think you were putting it together quicker than the story was
Yeah,
letting us
okay.
know it. Because when we do find out what actually, who the mole is, like
Uh-huh.
when we're in the room and we find out who the mole is, like it comes and goes quick because of what happens like right after.
Right, and
So
then it turned okay, now I see what you're saying with it, we'll get to that part then,
yes,
alright, I
so
won't won't
Leo's
spoil it
telling
anymore.
the flashback, and we're seeing what happened the night of the executions in the beginning of the movie.
Mhm,
Leo's sitting in a car. He decided he wanted to go watch because they wouldn't let him in on the job, but he wanted
right.
to be there. He's sitting in the car, and then the bad guys walk literally right by him and somehow don't spot him. That should have been his first key to leave because they walk by him with assault rifles, which again they don't end up using. We find out later,
Well,
but they do
he was
shooting.
he was in the car, like, he was in
Yes,
that, like, busted out car. This is all a flashback, of course, to the night that all of that went down, yeah, so he's like he just wanted to go, like,
yeah.
he didn't they didn't ask him to go, he just sort of wanted to see what their gangster life was like, so he sort of sneaks over to there to see what they're doing. He's in, like, a busted out car, and they're, like, kind of walking on both sides of the car, and he has to, like, duck down to not be seen by them at that point.
Yes. Yes, and so Leo is in the building now. Like I said, he almost got caught and then still decided to go inside to see what was happening. He
Right.
witnesses the execution and then he drops a coin or something. He steps on a coin. I don't know what this was.
Yeah,
Like that
that
is
was not yeah, exactly. That I thought was a little strange too. Like we find out that it's a setup. The action starts taking place, and Leo's watching from like an elevated location, and then yeah, drops a ring or a coin or some piece of round metal or something, and that's what alerts everybody that he's there.
yes.
It was
So
a very conveniently placed piece of whatever it was.
right, yes, it was a doohickey, and he steps on it, and he makes a noise, and he runs, and then we're back at the police station. Leo still confesses what he saw. The police are still getting dispatched because there's something going on in the city that they need to go take care of.
Yeah, we had seen a map of this area of France, and I actually liked that. I'm glad that you brought that part up because,
Yeah,
like, as all of the, like interspersed amongst this, it's like it's like a transparent map of the city, and it's got
cool
little
thing.
like yeah, it looked kind of neat. It was like up in the air, and it had like
Star Wars type of shit.
yeah, yeah, something like that, and had little light up LEDs like in different areas. I guess like what we would consider like counties or whatever, but
Mhm.
like different designations of the city, and like one by one they were just like red lights popping up on that. So you're starting to see that something's going down in the streets, and then it just keeps happening. It's that the red lights just keep going off and off and off throughout all of this. So yeah, so some shit is happening in the streets.
And then this is where we get the mole reveal because Leo says it's a cop. He says
Right.
and that's why I didn't say who it was who I saw in the hat, because it was a cop.
Yeah, you
And
didn't see him. It was hard to see who the guy was. They just called him the cop.
yes, and yes, they did. Yes, they called him the cop, and that's where you get the lady cop. She goes, "It's a mole, like the mole's a cop." And then the cop next to the friend. This was the moment you realize that he's the mole is because he gets up and he's about to kill Leo or something, and then
Well,
the guy.
he stabs the friend.
No, but he does something that makes him play his hand where the guy has to kill him. I forget what it
That's all.
was.
What? So that scene was that yeah, they're saying that there's a mole, and then the lady cop's like, we got a mole, and she looks at the friend, and he's like, oh, you think it's
Oh,
me?
I think it's me. Yes,
Yeah, you think
exactly.
it's me, and then all of a sudden he just out of nowhere gets stabbed in the neck by the other guy,
Yes.
and then the other guy comes over to her and is like, I gotta kill the
Oh,
kid, I gotta, I'm taking you out too.
okay, so dumbass, yes, he stabs the dude, and I think that was the moment where that was the mole reveal. I don't think we had known it before because, like, as you just said it, in the recollection, if he was making the calls before, and then he looks at her and he's like, "Oh, you think it's me?" Like he obviously wasn't the mole then,
That's
like
what yeah, and that's what I'm starting to get based on this conversation is that it might have been like they were trying to lead you to think that it could have been
yes.
the friend, but then it turns out to be the other guy. What I had taken away from it before this conversation was that the friend was a mole, and then the other guy was also on the tape.
That's what I took. That's what I took at it too.
Okay.
But then when you add it together, it's like okay, he was letting her be the godmother of her parent of her of his
Well, but
daughter,
that was
like.
why it was such a, you know, that like character-wise, why it was a big,
But
you know.
if the story revelation is at the end is like he actually wasn't the mole, like, oh, you think it was me, and then he gets stabbed by the actual mole. It's like, okay, that was a decent one. But then you have this retard walks up, puts the knife to the lady cop's throat, and he's doing the whole evil guy tell my whole plan thing,
Legit.
and then she shoots him. It's like, obviously, like, did he not remember that she has a gun? It's the first time that anybody's shot anybody in the movie, by the way, and she finally does it. Who knows? But yeah, so he's an idiot. She shoots him, and then the lights go out.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that this was exactly what you described, where it's like, bro, just you don't. Why are you? You know, you're doing the movie exposition thing, but it literally was telling the audience, like, yeah, you know, I have to kill the kid. Like, I can't let him live. Like, if he had just gone up to her and just stabbed her the same way that he just instantly stabbed the
He
other
could have
guy.
done it while she was bleeding out if he wanted to, you know, like at least get one stab on her. But
yeah, I mean, they're like, if had you not taken the time to reveal your dastardly plan, things could have gone right for you, but they did not.
Literally, yeah. So the lights go out, and this is where I typed, ooh, well, okay, so you get the bad guys who walk in, and they have guns again. They actually have guns now that they're prepared to use. And then I typed Ciryl versus guns. Now this should be good.
Yeah, this is the French assault on precinct 13, if you're, you know, aware.
And because obviously we love action movies with guns, this is the classic shot of stand and shoot nothing until the gun is out of bullets, but also not having to reload shot. That was great. That was great. They just stand there, shoot bullets, never reload, never do anything else. Awesome.
They are blasting this police station to holy hell. The goons start blasting with heavy artillery. So yeah, I mean, now Ciryl and the police chief, they have to make their way, you know, they're trying to sneak their way out to the hallway where Lady Cop and Leo are.
And this is the best part, is because she says, come over here, you know, and Ciryl is like waiting because they're still shooting. And then they're reloading, and she's like, come on. And then they start shooting again, and that's when Ciryl gets up to run. It's like, you had one thing to do. It's like, when you stop hearing the bullets, run. But no, he waited. And then what's also funny is that he evades all of the bullets, just like every other person on an action movie does. Bullets don't hit anything. He dives and dips and ducks around all of them. And that was definitely very funny. He's very elusive, is what I said. And now this is where this part of the ending gets a little weird, because so they go into this hallway where it's a padlock. So the lady cop shoots the lock, so they can't get in.
It wasn't a padlock. It was like one of those like key
yeah,
things or whatever. She shoots it so it can't open.
Yes, and now so there's a door, and then there's a hallway, and it's just an L shape.
Right.
That you're just in an L shape. So they're going out the other way, and the police chief is going first. He's going to take his right. Well, it's actually more of a zigzag. So they go right, and then it goes left after a little bit. And this is a very funny scene that's coming up here as well, is because he's, you know, doing his whole thing. He's going, okay, left, right, left. And then he's like, all right, it's clear, guys, let's go. And then gets blasted by fucking bullets, you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah. Chief goes down a little farther, gets shot up himself, unfortunately, there. And we find out that the main big bad guy, the Drake Romero guy, as I've been calling him, is the shooter there. And he recognizes Lady Cop, you know, sees her for a quick second, and then she goes back around the other side.
You're missing a horrible part of what you're missing here, is that she is standing at the corner, gun drawn. And the bad guy walks around having this little laugh. You know, he looks like the Joker. Yeah. It's all in slow motion. And she misses the fucking shot. Like, and she just can't fucking shoot him. She misses the shot, plays her hand. And then, you know, that's that. She misses the shot. She's back around the corner. The bad guy looks at his teammate and he says, hey, I need you to do me a favor. Grabs him, uses as a human shield, and runs up to the lady cop. But then this is where this ending scene gets a little convoluted, because there's an extra door in this hallway that they don't really show you exists until this point here. So Ciryl pulls them back into the room, and they're in a third room in this little hallway. And you're supposed to believe, okay, they're trapped. Now they're in a box. There's one door, one exit. And then magically there's another door out that they could just walk. They just sneak around the bad guys, because the bad guys didn't cover all of the doors. Like,
yeah, the layout of this police station is a little like plot convenient, I would say. Like, yeah, you're thinking that they're going to be backed up, and the main bad guy thinks that they're trapped in there too, because he's like, we need to get in there, and he's like yelling through the door at her and all this kind of stuff, and trying to like say, oh, I'll stop you, give me the kid, all this, like and then as he's doing all of that, we see them just kind of easily sneak out through another door. It's like, okay, I guess convenient is really all you can say about that part.
Yes. So they are walking through, they're sneaking around, and oh god, this is on a hilarious scene. So there's a guy in the middle of the room with a shotgun, and he's just kind of holding it down. He's just kind of there. They're sneaking around him. When they get to their vantage point, Lady Cop looks up. She's like, where'd he go? He's gone. And Ciryl, who's so he's right here. He could see behind her. He looks at her and says, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, she turns around and gets hit by a guy who was clearly standing 2 feet away from her the entirety of the time. Like, craziness.
Yeah. I mean,
actually, no, wait, she doesn't get hit. I'm sorry. She doesn't get hit. She gets shot in the chest, and she's wearing a bulletproof vest now.
Right. Yeah, that's okay. That's why I was going to say that. Yeah. So they sneak out. They go into the office there. Conveniently, 2 bulletproof vests are just on the ground there because it's a cop station. So there are bulletproof vests just laying around. There are only 2 of them though, and there are three of these people now. There's Ciryl, Leo, and Lady Cop. And Ciryl, like the hero that he is, of course, gives Lady Cop and Leo the bulletproof vests. He does not wear one. They sneak a bit more before one goon spots Lady Cop and fires a cannon shot at her that sends her backwards, doing flying backflips. It was she, like I said, that's what I was referencing earlier. She does a lot of backflipping in this film, unfortunately.
Yes. She gets shot in the vest. You will live, or I said she will live, of course. I mean, she literally, it's a bulletproof vest. You just watched her put it on, shot her point blank in it. Like, that's the whole point of it. And then Ciryl showtime is what I have here, because Ciryl gets up and he takes the first guy's gun, throws him to the ground, and then shoots the second guy. And then Leo stands up, because in this final scene, I credited Leo for being a good actor, but his character in these last couple scenes, he's fucking retarded. Like, he don't do a goddamn thing. So he stands up in the middle of the room while people are shooting, and he's like, oh, look out. And then Ciryl has to run over and tackle him. So
right.
he tackles Leo. Ciryl gets shot, which actually doesn't even come back into play now that I remember saying it. He literally got shot in the stomach, and he looks at it and he's like, fuck, and then Ciryl, oh my god, and then Ciryl grabs the dead body from the knocked out person and grabs their bulletproof vest. And this was absolutely the chaddest thing that he did in the movie. He grabs the bulletproof vest and holds them vertically, so it's like long ways, and just runs at the people shooting with it.
Is that what it, yeah, I was wondering what that was, because it was like I said that he takes the armor off of the dead guy, and Ciryl uses it as a riot shield almost, like charges at the active shooters there. And so I guess that is how that all went down. It was a little bit hard for me to follow in the moment, but that does make sense now that you describe it that way.
Yes.
But I did say earlier, like, as all of this is escalating, and now of course we're in like the peak escalation of all of this, and I said, I'm starting to think that this amount of combat training is a little outside the scope of what he learned in MMA gym, This is maybe going a little bit beyond the capacity of this character, but he certainly is, just slotting right in there an action movie hero way. So
yes,
I guess we just got to go with it.
So he charges at the gunman with the vest on like a shield and knocks these guys down. And then we get an amazing, brutal sounding shot from our villain with the brass knuckles, Scarface. And this is where you finally notice that Ciryl Gane is, he is, he's not immune to melee combat, but anything else that anybody has, guns, vehicles, knives, swords, whatever you want to say, he can handle himself.
Right.
But if they have brass knuckles, the only thing that is a hand-to-hand equivalent to what he did in his career, he's unable to figure it out. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that's exactly. When you say a punch, he swings on him with the brass knuckles and gets him. And you're exactly right. That's like everything else can he can handle mountains falling on him, but one punch well placed. Thought Ciryl had a better chin than that.
Yes. So then we're getting a split in this show. In this showdown, it is split between the lady cop and Ciryl. The lady cop is fighting the big boss who killed her brother. Ciryl is fighting Scarface, who is just some guy. Like they didn't actually make a note that he's like some high level, military guy or mercenary. Like he's just some guy with brass knuckles, and that seems to be Ciryl Gane's, end all be all in this fucking movie. So, sounded painful when he gets punched, of course. Now we get the epic showdown with the lady cop. Lady cop jumps on him as he aims at Leo. He aims the gun at Leo, about to kill him. She jumps on him, and then he just throws her through a glass window.
Oh, that was funny.
It is funny, but like in reality, I don't think people, and this is for everybody at home, if you don't understand how sharp glass is, especially once it gets broken, you are doing a disservice to anybody in the movie who thinks they can jump through that shit. Because this girl and him, he literally threw her head first through it, so he would have got the brunt of it to his face. She would have got thrown through it and been, sharded up. And then, not to mention that he just jumps through the broken glass window after he throws her through it. So he doesn't even give a fuck.
Yeah, I mean, so she attacks him. Oh, he overpowers her easily and throws her through that glass window,
Yeah.
right? So, which is like, yeah, that should be. I mean,
That
she's
tracks.
a smaller lady, right? Of course, that makes sense. I said that he himself, at least the way that they shot it in that scene, you find out that later on with the proportions and stuff that he's not that short. But I did like in the sequence of everything, I thought that I was like, Drake Romero is kind of short himself. She probably could have taken him if she had better training, but that didn't happen there. But yeah, so they end up going through that window there. Now they're in like the interrogation room or whatever. But yeah, you're exactly right. Like they both go through it and unscathed after that, which is, yeah, I mean, that might have been maybe a little bit more impactful than they made it out in the film.
Yeah, and then cut back to Ciryl and Leo. So the brass knuckle guy is walking towards Leo, and Ciryl Gane is on the ground, and he gets back up. He doesn't drop an iconic line like Captain America, though. Like I'll always get back up. Like he doesn't do that. Unfortunately, that was probably the time for him to drop a bar like that, but they didn't want to do it. Don't know why. They both. This is the brass knuckle guy and Ciryl. They both go in for the clinch. The brass
Little
knuckle
hand.
guy. Yes, yeah. The brass knuckle guy flips Ciryl Gane over his shoulder with a suplex, doesn't even bend over or bend his knees. It was absolutely the craziest thing you'll ever see because, again, this is not somebody that they've touted as like some crazy killer. It's just a guy with a scar on his face. Like,
Well, that's why I was saying, like like as far as the MMA side of things go for this film, that was a little unfortunate because it's like they go into this hands low hugging clinch, and then Scarface Goon straight up flips Ciryl
yes.
over, up and out of the clinch. So much for takedown defense. Bro went airborne.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. Then we go to the villain beating up the lady cop again. Flip back to Ciryl getting up one more time. I said Ciryl losing to brass knuckles makes the least amount of sense. He's beaten knives and guns already. He takes the back immediately, gets reversed, and then he's thrown head first into glass and then punched with the brass knuckles. And I right there, he'd be dead. Like his head would be eviscerated by the glass right there. And to mention a blunt impact of brass knuckles to your face after it, I mean, okay, sure. Lady Cop is still getting worked over. Ciryl tackles a guy through the wall. That was a cool one. That was the Batman thing. You just tackle him through the drywall, easy.
True.
Then he's doing the ground and pound thing. He's about to kill the guy, but you have that. In the movie they have the thing where they wiggle their hand while they're getting beat up, and they're like, "Where's that rock? Where's that sharp stick?" And then he grabs, and then he stabs Ciryl. So
Yeah, with something that looks akin to an icicle, which I was
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah.
granted, in all of this shooting and mayhem and everything, a lot of shards of things might have been broken off from whatever, but it was just like a very conveniently long, skinny, pointy, yeah, again, looked like an icicle.
Yes.
But yeah, so leading up into that, like you said, Ciryl almost had the rear naked, doesn't secure it. Has his head sent through some broken glass. Leo distracts from Scarface for a second. Then Ciryl goes for the bum rush double leg, gets it, mount, and then goes in for some Donkey Kong ground and pound. And that's when that happens. So I was like, there are little small flecks of MMA fighting
Yes.
related things, but it's just it's tiny pinches of it interspersed.
I think the action scenes do a service to what mixed martial arts could be, and I think that is a very good note here in the next couple scenes. So what we get here is a scene where the villain has the RNC on the lady cop, and
Right.
he's picking her up off the ground, and he's got it locked in,
Yep.
and then we go back to Ciryl getting fucked up. He's also getting choked out, kind of deal against the table, and then you get this moment where the lady cop remembered that she has a utility belt, right? And then in the craziest thing, this is by far the wildest thing that ever happens in any movie. She gets her handy dandy baton, and I don't know if you know what a baton is made out of, but I'm pretty sure it's plastic. I'm like
That's
90%.
metal.
Either
It's
way,
definitely metal. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's,
either way, what she is able to do with it after this point, I still do not think follow the physics behind the material that she had with the baton. So
oh
she
yeah.
flicks her baton, and obviously she's getting choked out, and then she sticks the baton through the guy's eye. Okay,
Yeah.
and not just through his eye, but then she's like in the choke, she yanks him forward and runs into a wall, which pushes the baton through his skull and out the other side.
Yeah, this was obviously this is a culmination. This is your big villain
Yeah.
finally meeting his ultimate demise, so it had to be a little bit over the top, but this was very over the top because yes, there's nothing pointy on the end of her baton. So it's like this baton, the amount of force that she would have to generate to get it past the eye into the socket. I mean,
What
like
a shot too.
yeah,
I mean, just,
yeah, the accuracy as well. I mean, just yeah, straight up, one single motion, back behind her head, right into his eye, and then yeah, having him all of that weight on her back. After remember, she just went through a glass window at this point
Yeah.
too. So just super Hulk, 5'2" little Hulk lady, carrying all that weight forward into the wall. Yeah, and then that finally does in the big bad villain with the baton through the eye, through the fucking eye, like. Just, yeah.
You know, I actually think if they would have done a better job of making the lady cop, like if we would have seen her in like a t-shirt and she would have been like jacked or something, like, you know, if she would have built like Tabitha Ricci at 5'2" or something, you know, I'd be like, okay, maybe she did pull him down and like, you know, something like
yeah,
that.
like little Nicole Cagliari kind of,
Right, you know,
super,
like built
yeah,
like a
built up
fucking
top,
pit
yeah,
bull, you know,
sure.
something like that. But like this girl, she did fine. She did fine. But anyway, so let's.
It was like we've already thrown realism out the window at this
Yes.
point, right? So it's like you just have to go with it. But like even within that, it was a kind of a grandiose in the moment thing that was certainly not believable.
So, and then Surreal's finale was actually a pretty cool MMA moment. So, you know, I said earlier they do a lot of implication to the moves that you wouldn't necessarily expect, you know, when it comes to like fighting in an environment kind of deal. So Surreal takes the stake out of his side, stabs the guy in the leg. The guy's backing up. Surreal grabs his hand, which was a very cool. I thought this was a really cool one because you get to see the camera do the whole shift thing.
Yeah.
So he grabs his hand, yanks him to him, and does the whole MVP over the top elbow, and that's when the camera goes vroom, and like
Yeah.
and then if you're a big fan of WWE guys, Ciryl Gane hits him with the flying knee, picks him up for the attitude adjustment, and drops him on the table. It was absolutely phenomenal. This guy has a career. If he ever wants it, Monday Night Raw, please be calling Ciryl Gane, because that right there was the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
That was
there you go.
Listen, I don't mean to go on a side rant. It was almost as good. If you've seen Spider-Man No Way Home with the Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe, and he comes back and he drops the Batista bomb on Spider-Man, that was the equivalent right here. I literally had a moment saying, he did the fucking John Cena move. Let's go. Like, dude, shout out Ciryl Gane, man. That was nice.
All right. Well, yeah, I obviously you know more about that than I do, so I'm going to take your word for all of that part. But I did say that, yeah, you know, when Ciryl removes the icicle from his leg and then stabs Scarface with it, I'm like, somebody's going to need a tetanus shot after this shit, because they are just straight up blood for blood on that one. But yeah, and Ciryl does, you know, the fireman's carry is what I would know it as, and slams Scarface, then head kicks him to put him out altogether. That's his final blow to all of that. So I did want to say though that it was like, that is, you know, cool, and like all like it was it certainly was visually interesting that was the way, but like Lady Cop had a way better kill than Ciryl did. You know what I mean?
I think they messed up with the kick. I think the kick was they did like a frontal stomp. If they would have done the soccer kick like Pride rules, or if he would have went over and stomped him, like I think that would have been a little better. I think that would have made a little more sense. But
yeah, it was because it felt, after seeing what Lady Cop, or maybe even if they had just reversed the order, but I mean, obviously you want Ciryl to be the last kill because it's like he's the hero, whatever. But like it felt like she got like a really like, we just said, a kind of spectacular kill. Yeah, right, exactly. It was, you know, it was like, it was a big deal because he's the big bad. This is like a secondary bad guy who just sort of gets taken out relatively easy compared to what she just did. So it just, I don't know, it felt a little bit uneven. Slightly, I don't know. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it, like, compared one to the other, because they were back to back, it might have been cool to have him get a little bit more of an epic kind of deal from that.
I think, you know, I didn't dislike the ending, but I think certain times when it comes to, obviously you have a 5'2" woman, and when it comes to certain action scenes, like this would have been the perfect time to have Leo do something to help her, like in any manner, just like throw a fucking piece of glass at the dude, you know, get him to turn his back, and then she can like hit him with the baton, you know, but just don't make it seem like she's just doing the incredible feat. I mean, obviously Ciryl was doing incredible feats as well. I have a problem with that too. I'm not just saying it for her sake. I think there could have been a little more groundedness to this story, and it would have been a lot better. If Leo would have helped in the end, I think it would have set the story a little better. Like maybe that was the moment that he and Ciryl have, like, oh, he saved Ciryl this time, you know?
True. Yeah. Well, but that's also kind of what goes back to what I'm saying here is like, if you're going to give one person like an epic ending, then give both of them an epic ending, or don't give either of them an epic ending. But like, you know, having one get one and one not, it was like just a little unbalanced. And I do agree though that, yeah, Leo could have played a little bit more of a role in all of this, aside from just being like, hey, look over there, guy.
Yeah, I think it was because they wanted him to be a lot younger than what I would, you know, the way that I'm saying it, a 16, 17-year-old, you know, like a young adult probably would have had that idea. But like if he's 14 in the story, like, okay, like, yeah, he's not going to go jump on the back of the bad guy, you know, something like that. But yeah, you know, this movie, after this scene, you know, there's really not much left to it, you know.
No, yeah, it was kind of funny there, because like after that happens with Ciryl, after the killing of the Scarface, Cyryl's just like, it's over. It's over. And like, Ciryl says it's over. Like, he knew how many shooters were in this place. Like, bro, how the fuck do you know it's over?
Yeah, yeah.
But like, it's
like, bro,
over. That's
do the police ever stop? Like, what are you talking about? It's over. You're telling her that her job's done. Like, brother, she has to come back tomorrow probably and go figure out who started this shit.
Yeah, and all of those other cops. I guess that's also one thing I just as for completeness sake, what we had talked about earlier when like the all that stuff was going down in town, like when there was all of those lights going off on the map. That's why there were not a lot of cops in the cop station. So all of these other cops are going to have to come back to this horror show as well.
Like, what the fuck happened while we were gone? Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, so the movie goes back to the beach, probably by Ciryl Gane's house. I don't know. They're just on a dock somewhere.
Chilling on a dock.
Yeah, the sisters reunite. Leo's with his girlfriend. The mom comes. It's a nice little moment. Ciryl and the lady cop. The lady cop has got bruises all over her fucking face, like she's had her fucking ass handed to her, which reasonably so. She just got out of the finale of the thing, but like Ciryl Gane's just standing next to her with a big old goofy smile on his face, like, you know, and that's basically the end of the movie. They just stand on the beach, and I thought the ending shot was very funny. Did you think it was like, the way
because of how big he is and how small she is?
No, but it's just the fact that they look. You get a silhouette of Ciryl and the lady cop in the sun setting, and they're just talking, and the wind's blowing. They got hands in the pocket. And then the credits just start coming on, and it's like, presumably you're gonna watch the 10-minute credits, and they're just standing there watching the sunset. Like that's the entire, and they do it for a good amount of time. You're just watching the wind blowing her hair, Ciryl just like looking over at her, looking around.
Yeah, exactly. It's you know, they're both just like stoically staring off into the distance, but it just hangs on them. So
yes, he's probably sitting there waiting. He's like, man, did they say cut already? Like, fuck.
Yeah, because the way that the full on final ending, it like the way that I have it described in my mind based on what it was there was like, she says, you know, what'll you do now, hero Ciryl? And he's like, who knows, maybe find something new to fight for. And then you get that freeze frame. And I was kind of like, it almost would have been appropriate for like it to go to the freeze frame and then like text to come up and be like, Ciryl Gane will return in the in
Yeah.
the next installment of KO or whatever. Like it was one of those kinds of deals where it was like, yeah, that's the end of this epic adventure, and we're on to the next epic adventure at some point.
Yeah, I give them credit for having just a very basic ending. There was an action movie that came out a while ago, sometime around COVID. It was called Extraction, and it had Chris Hemsworth in it. And the ending of the movie, like, you would presume that the guy is dead. Like, after something happened, he falls in a lake, like, something like that. And then at the end, he's like comes back, and it's like, why'd you even offer that he was dead? Like, it was just, something in that movie that they just randomly did at the end. But this one, it's like, no special ending, no potential, just like, we're just on a beach. They're just gonna watch the sunset.
Well, and that's what I was gonna kind of say too. It's funny that was called Extraction there. I was gonna say like this, it was a pretty basic story overall if you think about it really, and funny that, like I said, funny Extraction was the example, because what I would say that this movie is basically just an extraction story. Like this is the story of them needing to find the kid, get him out of danger, and then save him from danger when danger reapproaches.
Right.
So overall it's really like there's no like over the top twists and turns or anything like that. It's pretty fairly down the line. And for that, if you're not looking for it to be like anything, crazy twists and turns, then yeah, like I said, serviceable action movie with those as the parameters.
Well, I also think they did a great service to the story just by getting you into it, not focusing too much on what may or may not be making sense kind of deal. Like, okay, he killed a guy. They don't like him. You're gonna go find the kid. You're in it now. That's it. That's all you need to know. Now go fight in a nightclub. Like, that's instead of making it an hour and a half of us learning who Ciryl Gane is, and his backstory of why he wanted to fight and how he killed the guy and going to the funeral. Like, we didn't need all of that. They get right into it, and I think that helps the story. Just don't think about it too much. Sometimes that does work in filmmaking. Just don't think about it.
Yeah, and to that point, this definitely, like, I appreciated the streamlined nature of this, because the trend nowadays is always that films need to be like 2 to 2.5 hours, like all the time, no matter what it is, no matter what you're trying to tell.
3 hours and a two-parter.
Exactly. Like this was just it almost reminded me of a classic action movie in that regard, because it's like, get what you need, get the meat and potatoes, get your action, get in, get out. This is what you get out of it. That was all really good. The one thing I would say to that, though, is that within that, from the MMA fan in me, and presumably some people who went to go watch this movie because they're also MMA fans watching for Ciryl Gane, if you're going to have him be an MMA fighter as his backstory, I would have maybe liked to have seen some more MMA related things in it, but like the type of story didn't need it, but you said it, you know what I'm saying? Like you have that as an element, but it doesn't play much of a part in the story. So did it even need to be that? Like,
it goes back to the question you were asking before we started streaming, when we were talking about all these movies that we could potentially review that are technically mixed, martial artist, companions, but like, what is the extent to what that means? Does that mean that in one scene they are competing in a mixed martial arts competition? Does that mean that they know mixed martial arts? Does that mean that the people who made this watch mixed martial arts? What does it actually mean? In this case, I think it meant the exact same as what Roadhouse meant for Conor McGregor. This is just the acting debut for an action star, is at least what he wanted to be.
Right. I mean, and that's fine, but that's like, if we're just talking about it from like a storytelling standpoint, then if you take that element out of it, because that's like outside of the confines of the film world, you know what I mean? Like if you bringing it back to that I would, maybe there would have been some way to have a little bit more of that. I did think that the third act felt a little bit rushed. We're kind of getting to that point with some of the stuff we just talked about. So maybe there might have been a little bit of room to flesh some of that out, just a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I think that there could have been like a couple of like additional tweaks that might have elevated the storytelling aspect of it a little bit more. But for what it is, for a somewhat bare bones, kind of stripped down, straightforward action film, I thought it was pretty competent. You know, I
Mhm.
thought it was competently directed. You know, we've been talking about some of the directing choices that we enjoyed there. I thought that they did a good job of setting up and paying off things in small ways. Like there were, you know, I mean, things they might not have always been like the greatest payoff, but they certainly were like, this will happen here, and then this is when it comes back. Like
Right.
they tie things together well. You know, they tied up a good amount of loose ends, I would say.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
So
this one was okay.
yeah, so I mean that's pretty much the whole deal there. So overall, what would you rate KO
Um,
out of 10?
I out of 10, do I want to take into consideration a lot of things that could be contributing factors to something like, acting debut kind of deal for the main act or the main star, action movie compared to like a drama, whatever you want to say. I would say that this probably lands in the 7 range. 7 because you can watch it all the way through and not get bored. 7 because it's not necessarily the most thought provoking, not the most exhilarating experience, but it is a quick watch and you can get it over with. And I think it makes sense for what it is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was going to go 6.5, closer to a 7 than a 6, for the exact same reasons. I thought that it was I keep using the word serviceable, and I mean it as a compliment, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that it is, you can settle in with it. You get to, know what you need to know. There's not too much development to the point that it gets over the top. You get what you need out of the characters for the type of story that they're trying to tell. It gets to the action well enough, quick enough. You get what you need out of this type of thing. So if you go into it expecting, Shakespeare, yeah, you're not going to get that, of course. But like, if you want just a good, solid action movie, kind of a movie that you don't necessarily see a lot of nowadays, in the sense that it is just like get in, get out, get what you need out of it.
Yeah.
I thought it did a fine job of that, and a 6.5 is a good score for it.
Yeah, and I think we underestimated just how much Ciryl Gane would be in this movie, actually performing, not just like a bodyguard of somebody, whether or not that's actually what he ended up being in the story. I think he did a great job, and he's definitely an actor that I would like to see in more movies. Like, I know he's a mixed martial artist, and I know we want to see him in the UFC, but like, if he wants to be a movie star, trust me, I've seen a lot worse. I've watched Goldmember and seen Beyonce, guys. Like, I can tell you the Ciryl Gane is definitely a treasure right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that it'd be the interesting question is to like, would he be as effective in a role that was not action centric? I'd have to see it to know, you know what I mean? Like, if he tried to do like a serious role or, something more dramatic, who knows? I don't know if this film is the best representation of what his full on range would be as an actor, but for a film like this, absolutely fine. Yeah, I thought he was, like, when you're watching actors act, there are times where you see the acting and like that can take you out of it, like where it's the exaggeration of things, this and that. I thought he was very natural. Like he embodied the role well, to the point where it didn't feel like I was taken out of it by knowing he's Ciryl Gane, knowing that he's an MMA fighter, outside of this film world, all that kind of stuff. Like, he just was that character in this moment, and that's exactly what you want out of an actor. So I give him a lot of credit for his acting ability here. Extending that past this, I'd have to see it.
I think what's also interesting to note about shows and media that we're going to start, getting into that revolve around martial arts is that when we watch an action movie that is, supposed to be true to what martial arts is, well, we know what true martial arts is. Like, we already see that. It's not like we're taking, pro wrestling and then putting it into Batman. It's like those are two things that you could just make anything happen with. But it's like when mixed martial arts, we're literally watching the equivalent of how you would defend yourself against another human being. But then when you watch it in a setting like this, it's like it is very over the top. Like, this is probably not what would happen, but you don't really know, man. Whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're getting movie choreography in all of this, and that's just part of what you're going to have to deal with. I think that goes back to my point about not enough MMA being involved, is like, because we are aware of these things as fans. So it's like you have to kind of strip away what you'd expect from the MMA side of your brain and go into action movie side of your brain to enjoy that a little bit more, because it is so over the top. He is getting stabbed in the stomach with a glass bottle and coming out unscathed. He's getting shot. He's okay at the end of the movie, kind of thing. Like, there's just elements of it that you have to suspend your disbelief for. And that's just, you just got to come to terms with that.
I think you're wrong. It's not about suspending the belief. I think it's about setting the story up correctly. Because when you look at like Roadhouse, right? It's like, okay, so the story is he was in mixed martial arts, and then he's not, but then he's had time where he's not been a mixed martial artist, so he's just been like a bouncer like that. So that's where like the grudginess comes from, like the fight choreography kind of deal. But with Ciryl, it's like he's a pro mixed martial artist. Okay, now he's still he's a mixed martial artist that knows all his mixed martial arts, but now just put him in a setting where he's like fighting people in like a bar, but like he's not always in the bar setting where you can kind of assume that like, oh, he's adapting to like this is how he fights now kind of deal. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but you still have to be like you still have to make a handshake agreement with the film that like I'm going to accept this as the reality, and that's any action movie really to an extent. So it's not really it's not a problem. It's just something that like if you were going into it like with the MMA analysis side of your brain, like I'm going to analyze this from the MMA standpoint, which we kind of did a little bit more with the Cage because that they were trying to portray those aspects, you know, more realistically, at least in ring stuff, in Cage stuff. So I mean, like that kind of goes a little bit out the window. But if you allow yourself to do that, then you're fine.
Yeah, you know? I 100% agree.
Yeah, you just let it happen. So then I guess my last question is, would you recommend recommend KO?
I already have. I have actually recommended a couple different people to watch this because if you are somebody that knows who Ciryl Gane is and you've watched him in the UFC and you've seen a little bit about him, it is definitely interesting to see him put on a performance. I mean, to see him want to be the little theater boy and not the little, you know, killer in the cage, whatever you want to say. Like, I think it is genuinely something that you wouldn't expect him to be good at. Like you look at Ciryl Gane and you may have your opinions about him in the cage, whether he's better than he is or if he's worse than you think. He did his job when it came to acting, and I think that is worth watching. The movie story is decent enough and the action scenes are fun enough for somebody who knows what a flying knee looks like. I think that is just a very good I don't know, this movie was fine. I've told people to watch it already, so yes.
Fair. You know, so I take all of the Ciryl Gane acting element out of it. Anything outside of the movie, like I disregard with all of this. So how I would say it is, if you are an action movie fan and are looking to watch an action movie, this is a fine action movie to watch. 100%. I would recommend it under those circumstances. You know, that would be my recommendation. If you are a film aficionado, a little bit more of a snooty film person, you're probably not going to enjoy it all that much necessarily. There's no real emotional depth or really any kind of like deeper meaning or undertones. Any of, you know, there's no philosophical elements to it.
Right.
But if you are looking for a solid, competent action film with some good cinematography, good action sequences, and you know a cast that does all of those things well enough, you can definitely do worse than KO.
Yeah, very diverse cast too, by the way. France has got a very diverse community when it comes to acting. You know, there was not a lot of white people in this. Just putting that out there. And it's not like I had a problem with it. I was just liking to note that Ciryl Gane, you know, when it comes to acting, guys, we don't have a lot of people of color that get an opportunity. And Ciryl Gane is just one of those people. And I think he did a great job with the opportunity that he was given.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, you got the mixed race couple with Leo and the girlfriend, and Ciryl and Lady Cop. And yeah, you know, I mean, France is an ethnically diverse country, you know, becoming more so all the time over there. So good representation of what actual life in the country would be like. You know, it's a diverse group of people and a diverse representation in the film. So that's certainly fine.
Yeah, 100%.
So there you have it. That is KO 2025 from Netflix, starring Ciryl Gane. Myself and Chase have a couple of other movies that we are queuing up to do some reviews for in the near future. So if you enjoyed this, let us know what you thought about it in the comments down below. Make sure that you like the video, and we will be back with another review very soon. So appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you very much, and see you in the next one.